and live on YouTube.
Okay, if you can all please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, roll call of board members.
Aaron's,
Here.
Milnick,
Here.
Kester, here, Slopesma,
Here.
Hooksma, present.
All right. Does anybody have any adjustments?
One thing that I noticed, I worked at LIA, but depending on what device you use, you can't tell what meeting this is when you go to the videos. So when you call the meeting to order, it would be helpful, I think, to say the
Date.
date and if it's a regular special meeting, because you can't tell sometimes when I'm looking, I just go to the latest one, say, maybe that's it, but
Okay, so this is the July 9th, 2026 meeting of the Township Board in Whitewater at 6:30 p.m. Okay, set, adjust, and approve the meeting agenda. Does anybody have any adjustments?
I would like to add the memorandum that you guys all have in front of you to G under presentation, announcement, and reports.
I looked at that briefly. Is that more of a board discussion or just a presentation?
Yeah, just it. I don't think it'll really be discussion. It's just trying to correct some inaccurate information.
Okay, is everybody okay with that? Any objections?
I don't really know what it.
Any concerns? I mean, I haven't read it in detail. I've read the title.
I'm concerned there's inaccuracies in this.
It's a presentation.
It's just a presentation.
So it's your opinion.
Well, it's based on facts that I have, yeah.
I'm wondering if it belongs more under board comments and discussions. It seems more appropriate to me.
I would agree with that.
Anybody else? Do we need to vote on that? All those who, I'm going to suggest that we put that under board comments and discussion at the end of the meeting. All those in favor of that? Aye. All right, that doesn't pass. Those of you that want to put it then under presentations, announcements, and reports.
Aye.
Okay, all right, then we'll put it there. Well, that'll be the second item. Okay, any other adjustments anybody's got?
I have two more correspondence to add.
Okay, you want to tell me what those are?
So RORAF with the land use permit and Volmuth safety.
Okay. I have one to add to new business. It'll be a follow-up on, we're gonna have the zoning presentation. And then we'll discuss the motions that are on page 7 under number 4, new business, for the zoning ordinance amendment. Everybody okay with that? So that's just, we'll have the presentation and then we'll talk about people's level of comfort with motions under new business. You have something, Tim?
I think under unfinished business, I'd like to add recycle bin
Okay, we'll add that as number 4.
concerns. I don't know what else to call it.
It's fine.
Where's that going, Tim? Unfinished business.
And then Chief Morgan, you and I spoke earlier today and you said you would like us Actually, that's a removal from the consent calendar. We can, if
We'll do that one.
you still have that request.
Mhm.
Okay, so Chief Morgan wants us to remove that firefighter discussion. Consent. Okay, anything else? All right, then I'll make a motion to adjust the agenda as noted. All those in favor, I need a second on that.
I'll second.
Seconded by Kester. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed? All right, none opposed. All right, moving on to declaration of conflict of interest. Does anybody have a conflict of interest with the content of today's meeting?
No.
All right, none noted. So now we're at public comment. Any person can come up to the lectern and address the board in accordance with the following rules. Comments shall be directed to the board with questions to the chair. You'll speak from the lectern. Persons may address the board on matters that are relevant to the township government. Chair will control the amount of time each person will be allowed to speak. It will not exceed 5 minutes. And in order to avoid unscheduled debates, the board generally will not comment nor respond to presenters. Silence or non-response should not be interpreted as disagreement or disinterest, and comments should be respectful to all parties. So who would like to make a public comment tonight?
Pierce, 9500 Larson Road. About 23 years ago, the Grand Traverse Regional Land Conservancy negotiated and arranged the sale of about 116 acres of Snow Day family property for the Battle Creek Natural Area. This property was the portion of the Battle Creek Natural Area that borders Elk Lake and lies directly east of the old Battle Creek mouth, now filled in, and the Clearwater Beach subdivision, which is located along Miami Beach Road. Because the township had access to Michigan Natural Resources Trust Fund grants that the Conservancy didn't have, the township handled the final transaction and became the steward of the Battle Creek Natural Area, taking effect somewhere around 2007. About 3 years ago, I noticed a sign that was posted on a strip of Elk Lake shoreline that is closest to the old, now filled-in Battle Creek mouth at Elk Lake and Clearwater Beach subdivision that lies along the Miami Beach Road. This sign was located on former Snow Day property, and so I thought it should be Battle Creek Natural Area land. The sign simply read, "This is not Battle Creek Natural Area property." This aroused my curiosity so much that I never forgot it. I have given, may I pass out photos of what I'm to speak on?
Sure.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
I have given the board tonight a Google Earth picture of this area, including the Elk Lake shoreline where the sign was posted. They will see 3 boat lifts, a couple of swim rafts, and 2 other man-made items that show too small to be well-defined being stored on this stretch of Elk Lake Beach. I have a copy with me tonight of the 40-page long Michigan Natural Resources Trust Fund Land Acquisition Project Agreement TF03-206 for the Battle Creek Natural Area. In it, very strangely, is approximately a half acre that was excluded by the then Township Board. This land extends 100 feet easterly into the Battle Creek Natural Area from the straight stretch of the Battle Creek located at the old mouth and across the creek from property currently owned by a Thomas Cosgrove. In the Battle Creek Natural Area legal boundaries description, this land exclusion reads as follows. I'll skip the property's legal description and go to, and I quote, except for a parcel of land lying east of parcel C of the Clearwater Beach subdivision and extending 100 feet east of Battle Creek. I asked, why did the then Whitewater Township government exclude this half acre from the snow day land from the Battle Creek natural area? The land is important. It lies along the east bank of Battle Creek and runs to the Elk Lake Beach. Who owns it now? And who is using it for private storage? What other motive might there have been for this egregious arrangement? I have a theory. I'll keep that theory at this time. Also, upon personally examining the area of the Battle Creek Natural Area inland from and nearby the Elk Lake shoreline, I found about 1,000 feet of two-track trail from two trails, which were obviously being mowed regularly. This brought another question to me. Does the township allow motorized vehicles in this area of Battle Creek Natural Area land? And who is mowing these trails? I think I know the answer. The trails begin from a bridge that crosses Battle Creek from Mr. Cosgrove's property. Those trails then cross the 100 feet of excluded snow day property and then enter Battle Creek Natural Area land. These dead-end trails are only accessible across the bridge from Mr. Cosgrove's property or by boat from Elk Lake. I know Mr. Cosgrove is well known by this board because Mr. Cosgrove has served on the Parks and Recreation Advisory Committee for many years and is currently on the Parks and Recreation Board. Also, Mr. Cosgrove, to his credit I'll add, gives money to Whitewater Township projects. In a nutshell, as stewards of the Battle Creek Natural Area, the elected Whitewater Township government officials at the time of the Battle Creek Natural Area creation failed the public very miserably, to say the least. The excluding of the half acre of former snow day property from the Michigan Natural Resources Trust Fund land acquisition agreement was shameful, and I suspect somewhat self-serving. This half acre should be returned legally and in its entirety back to the Battle Creek Natural Area. When this occurs, Mr. Cosgrove's private bridge to paradise will directly adjoin Battle Creek Natural Area property, and Michigan Natural Resources Trust Fund Section 8I, page 4 will kick in. His private bridge would be classified as a structure then upon Battle Creek Natural Area land and would have to be taken down. Personal storage usage from Miami Beach Road residents on this half acre should be stopped under any circumstances. And unless public-owned motorized vehicles are allowed on Battle Creek Natural Area property, the mowing should be stopped. Thank you for this opportunity to speak.
Thank you, Pat.
Mike Jacobson, Skigmog Point Road. I don't speak as eloquently as this gentleman does. But I've been in front of this board several times since you guys have been together, stating that the stewardship of Battle Creek Natural Area is not being properly done. And he, I'm sorry, I forgot your name. He is proving that to you with pictures. You wouldn't, you don't let them drive on the Losi Road Trail. You don't let anybody drive there. That's the property too. It's the same property. You would frown upon that. And nobody should get special privileges. Nobody. And sorry about this, but you just gave him special privileges to speak longer than the timer. Why do some people in this township get special privileges and other people are looked down your noses at us? I think you guys really need to look at yourselves in the mirror and ask yourself that question. We all are equal. Thank you for your time and energy.
Would anybody else like to make a public comment this evening? All right, moving on. No public hearing presentations. First, we have the Planning Commission amendments discussion. And I think we're expecting somebody from the consulting firm as well, right?
We are.
Sure.
We are. Well, since last fall, the planning commission has been busy working on our zoning ordinance. As you know, Giffords Webster was hired to help us with that and move through things in a measured and organized way. Process is somewhat lengthy, but a lot of progress has been made, and there's some good news and bad news. The bad news is this is the first in a series of amendments that'll be coming forward for consideration. The good news is this may be the hardest material to work through in terms of language and principal topics and so forth. And things like PUDs and special uses and site plan reviews are probably not common language, but anyway. I also wanted to note that considerations such as these are kind of like an insurance policy against future problems and litigation. When we have vague language, unclear requirements, problematic things like that, no one benefits from that, and we need to clean that up. So I'm not going to say any more. We can look forward to comments from Rain, from the chair of the Planning Commission, as well as our consultant who is going to dig into some of the details here with us so we can understand what's going on.
Okay, Reen, do you want Reen to come to the podium
Sure,
next?
if that's all right with you.
Sure.
What's that?
What I was going to say is a little bit redundant with what you've just said, but the Planning Commission is addressing issues necessary to clarify the zoning ordinance and to make changes to it in accordance with the master plan. Last fall, the PC considered a long list of issues identified in the master plan and by an audit of our zoning ordinance by Giffords Webster. It's the goal of the PC to recommend changes resulting in a zoning ordinance with clear requirements and procedures so that private property rights are protected, development requirements are clear, and procedures are understood by everyone. With us tonight is Andy Emmett with Giffords Webster, who will clarify the amendments the PC has recommended for approval by the Township Board. Andy?
Good evening, Township Board. Thanks for having me tonight. I'm Andy with Giffords Webster.
Just a second, Andy, you're coming in a little quiet here.
Okay.
Let's see. Go ahead and keep talking there.
Good
I ask a
evening,
question
Township
before he
Board. I
starts?
hope you can hear me okay. Can you nod?
Yeah, I have you turned up here. It might be an issue on your end. If you're able to maybe leave the meeting and then come back.
Okay. I can do that real quick.
Okay.
So while he's doing that, do you have a question, Tim?
Well, if you can
Something?
start off, or Randy, what is your expectation tonight of us?
Our expectation is to introduce this to you. I know,
Okay.
the Planning Commission has been working on this for a good solid 6 months at least in
Right.
terms of this. So there's a lot of material that's being provided to you. Andy also has in the packet given you the memos that describe the actions that the Planning Commission has taken and the discussion topics that you can look through and see how the material that you have in front of you has evolved over time. The Planning Commission has held this public hearing, the required public hearing on this material and subsequently recommending it to the board. So there's a lot here. I would hope that there's the opportunity for our consultant to describe what happened, hit the highlights, and then ask if there are questions, if there's other feedback. We'd love to hear that. And then ultimately, of course, the Township Board needs to act, and there's a proposed motion that's in the packet that you could act on this if you so choose. If you need more time with that, I think that's understandable. but maybe you're ready to move forward. I don't know. And I did want to mention that there is more material coming and more bundles being worked on, more individual amendments coming forward. For various reasons, they've been separated out from what you have in front of you.
Thank you.
Is that clear?
It looks like Andy's back now. Go ahead and try that again, Andy.
Hello, Township Board. Can you hear me
No,
okay?
still the same issue going on here. Let me try one thing here. Maybe change your source of audio. Go ahead and speak again, Andy.
Hello, can you hear me?
Still pretty muffled here. If you on your computer can change your microphone input, that sort of thing. Everything's looking good on our end here.
Almost sounds like something's covering his mic.
Yeah, it's like it's not plugged
Yeah.
in all the way.
I've never had to do this before.
That's not a good thing.
What about now? Can you hear me at all?
Yeah, I got you cranked up as much as we can go here. You are quiet.
Weird.
Can you guys hear him decently enough?
A little better.
Yeah, I
Let's-
cranked him up as much as we have.
How about now? I'm raising my voice a little bit, but
Mm-hmm.
I don't think there's any issues for me to speak a little louder. Is this okay?
Yeah, I mean, it can do from now if you can't go in and change your microphone or anything like that. That's, I know it's pretty deep in the settings there. So,
Okay, I have two choices. I have a same as system microphone, and then I
Mhm.
have a Realtek microphone, and I've gone in between both of those. I've
and you get the
tried.
same
Yeah.
thing.
So,
Okay. Yeah, I mean, if you guys can hear him decently enough, we'll go for it. I can crank the speakers too.
okay. I can get started. If you ever lose me, just say something because I can hear you on
Okay.
your end. So, first things first, I'm going to share my screen. I have a little PowerPoint presentation. It's just 9 or 10 slides and it's 5 to 10 minutes. So I hope you can just bear with me here. I did send a request to have my screen shared. So,
That's
um,
better. Grab it.
You should join soon.
Oh, join Zoom.
Think that
yeah,
helped.
I sent the request to have screen sharing capability.
So he wants to share his screen.
Just a sec, Andy. Allow, and now you should be able to share.
Great. So I hope you can see this PowerPoint presentation here. Does everything look okay?
Just a sec, it's still loading. I'm gonna crank down these other mics here. Yep, we see it now.
Great. So thanks for having me here tonight. It's definitely been a very collaborative, very detail-oriented task of developing these amendments with the Planning Commission. So just Randy and Reen both touched on it, but really we're here because we're trying to implement the master plan's key recommendations, and zoning is one of those key ways that a municipality can do this. This is part of what is going to be a pretty thorough process, and this is that first bundle is what we're calling it, and they are sets of amendments that we are working on piece by piece. These bundles usually have some kind of shared feature or shared um, um, kind of typology to them, so that's kind of why we're attacking a couple of these shared amendments in one bundle. This one is the development process bundle, is what we've kind of called this. So, in terms of the amendments in front of you tonight, the first bundle, 1A, is the Article 8 condominium development regulations. The second part is Bundle 1B, that's the Article 7 planned unit development regulations, and then Bundle 1C is kind of the development process in in a comprehensive manner, the site plan review, the special land uses, the administration, and the definitions. So the next couple slides will follow the order of the packet material. There's the exhibits in the packet, so just so that you can follow along, I'm going to just touch on each one of these exhibits based on my memos. So in terms of Bundle 1A, this is focused on site condominiums for the most part. They're called condominiums, but they're really any kind of condominiums. Uh, um, and but in the end, they're going to mostly be pertinent to site condominiums. So I just wanted to go over quickly what is a condominium. A condominium is essentially a form of land ownership. Um, they they take the form in present day of subdivisions for the most part. They've essentially replaced the Land Division Act's platted subdivisions as the key form of subdivision development in the 21st century. Um, I believe it's because the timelines are a little bit shorter, and so a lot of developers have then opted to take the site condominium development route. Hardly anyone, if anybody in Michigan, develops platted subdivisions these days. They all take the site condominium route. So they're really going to look similar to what platted subdivisions look like. There's also a master deed involved with, perhaps a homeowners association that attributes responsibilities, attributes what are called common areas, general common elements, and areas outside of perhaps the building footprint that is shared by perhaps the condominiums owners. So there's just a couple little technical differences as well, but for the most part, a condominium is a land division, a platted land division in this case. So we explored some amendments to this. Uh, I want to make clear that, again, Planning Commission took a lot of time and detail with these amendments. We had 7 meetings overall in terms of the development of this zoning text. All of the amendments in front of you tonight were developed on the course of 7 meetings, starting in September or October of last year. And in those memos, I document kind of the time frame. So please refer to that if you have any questions. But I think the key policy changes that we explored here, and when I say we, I mean myself and the Planning Commission, it's been really a group effort here. And the key policy changes were pertaining to cluster development allowances. It's a pretty common thing in zoning ordinances these days for site condominium regulations to include a way to cluster development to preserve open space, preserve natural features. So it's a way that a developer can develop a subdivision where they are kind of portioning off land that is preserved because perhaps it's wetlands, perhaps it's natural areas, perhaps it's a healthy, mature woodland, where they're able to preserve open space but perhaps get a little bit of leniency in terms of the lot size and lot width within the developed portions. So that's one key thing we looked at, and we tailored regulations for these cluster development allowances in a pretty detailed manner. That is on page those regulations would be on page 21 of your packet, page 7 of that memo specifically, actually 20 of your packet, page 6 of the memo specifically. So that was a key change we worked on. We also added a tiered approach to the open space requirements. That's on that next page. There's a chart that says required minimum open space and lot size and width reductions. Um, so for these site condominiums, these subdivisions, they would have to start with a base requirement for open space. Um, and then as um, as you preserve a certain amount of open space, you can then reduce your lot width and lot size requirements, which means you're developing on a smaller portion, but perhaps you're getting a similar residential density than what would be provided on the course of the entire site if the entire site would be developed. The key here is that you're getting, uh, you know, on the master plan and in a lot of your planning efforts, it seems to me that, the township is very interested in preserving their open space, preserving natural features, preserving habitats for animals, and, preserving your environmentally sensitive features. The plus is that if someone wants to develop, they aren't going to clear cut an entire property. They're going to perhaps develop on a portion of the lot, perhaps with smaller unit sizes and lot sizes, but preserving some of those key features. So that's really one of the key points on why we're doing this. Before I move on to the next slide, do we want to go kind of topic by topic? Uh, or is there any preference here? Or do you want me to just continue and then hear any questions you have?
I have one question. How is
Okay.
this different from a PUD? Because I've heard the same kind of description in a PUD about clustering and preserving open space.
Yeah, that's a good question. And we do have PUDs as the next item on this in this bundle of amendments. So we will touch on PUDs. Um, PUDs have often been utilized as a form to cluster development, but in my opinion and in practice, usually PUDs are able to be used for a wider assortment of land uses, a wider range of land uses. They're usually given a bit more allowance for different kinds of dimensional modifications and different kinds of use or site improvement modifications. PUDs are often encouraged to be taken when it's an innovative development. It's a development that's just not possible to be developed by a conventional zoning ordinance. Um, um, they're required to give what's called a community benefit or a benefit to the users of the site as well. Whereas a condominium is technically a form of ownership. And a subdivision um, is more of like a by right or more of a standard development process that isn't really getting into the uniqueness and the unique innovation of a PUD. That's really why I don't think we want to conflate these two things, and not saying you did, but the way that a lot of times ordinances say the only time you can cluster is if you're in a PUD. We wanted to lay out clustering as a site condominium option, so that you're not going through the very, very technical and very thorough review processes of a PUD to meet a lot of discretionary um, um, review standards of a PUD. That's the other part of a PUD. The PUD review entails a lot of discretion and a lot of review by the Planning Commission and Township Board. Um, Usually, and we'll go over the PUD in a moment, but the site condominium process should be a little bit more streamlined because it's more matter of fact and it leaves less discretion in the review process.
Hey,
Uh,
Andy, can you just get a little closer to your
yep,
microphone there, a little closer to the screen? There we go.
yep. Does that kind of help explain a little bit of the points, the differences?
Go ahead, Tim.
So as far as the open space requirement, the tiered approach, I assume that goes directly to the master plan, preserving rural character, I would assume.
Yeah,
My
yep, correct.
concern is, and I've seen a recent plan, if that open space requirement is in the middle of the condominium development, it only serves as a park for those residents. It doesn't really add to the value of the township preserving its rural character because nobody will see it except for the people that live there. So has that been considered?
That's a good question. I can't remember if that specific concern was considered. I don't think it was, to be quite honest. And Mr. Milnick or Chairperson Stratton, correct me if I'm wrong. I think we just wanted to give flexibility here. I think it would be a kind of a unique and maybe a burden on the developer actually to not to kind of put a ring around the around the development and maybe preserve like a donut hole, because I think then that's a kind of a waste of their resources. I don't know if I think the developer would like to concentrate development for the most part because then they are able to shrink their development costs, their footprint costs, their utility costs, pavement costs, all of that. But that's a good question. I don't know if we want to insert something to kind of regulate against it.
I would just add that there's still a site plan review process that would have to be followed in order for the development to be approved. So if there was something quite unusual, or there would still be opportunities, I think, to make sure that open space was contributing something to the community instead of just being the minimum requirement for a handful of property owners.
But I don't think those site plan reviews come back to this board.
No, they don't. Well, actually, in a condominium, it does.
Oh, okay, all right,
Uh,
okay.
Is that right, Andy? According to the
Let me check. That's a good question. Yes, we do send it. It does, a condominium does go from planning commission to the township board.
and similarly with the PUD, it would as well. So that-
Do you want me to move on to the next slide, or are there any other questions on condominiums while we're here?
It looks like no more questions here.
Okay, great.
Move
So my next slide here, you can still see my screen, correct?
Yes.
Okay. So the next bundle 1B is the PUD section. So the PUD, I kind of went over a minute ago, but yeah, these are supposed to be innovative, high quality developments that are generally not possible to be developed under the conventional zoning code. So a lot of times, oh, I'm really sorry. I just had okay. A lot of times, these are developments that maybe have multiple different kind of uses, or they might have unique uses or unique accessory uses. They could even have unique dimensional considerations or unique site standards built into them. There's kind of a give and take with them where in their approval process, the planning commission and township board is able to acknowledge that yes, we'll waive your strict setback requirement of 25 feet, allow you to build up to 10 feet. But in return, you're providing a native pollinator garden in this area that wouldn't be provided, or you're providing a playground for the children that might live at the apartment building, or there's some kind of public benefit that is granted to the users of the site. It's a little bit of an exchange there. Um, and a lot of people use PUDs because a lot of times zoning is not 100% up to date to market conditions too, and the conditions of 2026. So a lot of times a PUD is a way for somebody to perhaps build something that really hasn't been even thought about yet when you develop a zoning ordinance. So that's also a benefit of having PUD regulations in your zoning ordinance. Um, in terms of what we did here is we really clarified the purpose of the PUD. We made clear that dimensional and use modifications are permitted after the review, which is a typical thing to provide in a PUD ordinance. We revised the qualifying criteria, so the type of criteria that an application for a PUD should meet in terms to even be reviewed as a PUD or considered further by the approval bodies. We clarified the review process and some of the requirements that um, create the review process. We did create a link to, um, or we did create a residential density allowance here that links us to um, that allows an increase in density with a reference back to the condominium ordinance as well. So that was something we did in terms of this PUD ordinance. Um, so there is, you are correct by kind of bridging these together in a way that PUDs are can often be in the form of a site condominium. It's completely possible that you could have a site condominium PUD where they want to provide a little bit more than perhaps just where the site condominium is asking for a little bit more dimensional relief from strict dimensional requirements than what they would be permitted by the residential cluster tool, because they are arguing that they are providing a public benefit by providing a shared use path to the elementary school or something of that nature. Just providing you examples of what different kind of PUDs argue when they argue for their benefit. So that was most of what we did in the PUD process. Do you have any other questions on a PUD?
Uh, I don't see any questions being asked at this point.
Okay. So I'll jump to the next slide, and that is the general development process types. And this entails the site plan review section. This entails the special use section, the administration section, which is mostly regarding land use permits. And then it also entails a few definition amendments. So first things first, we looked at the site plan review section. So site plan review is the conventional development review for most new builds, most commercial construction, industrial construction, um, um, most of development of that nature. Um, what we did here is we revised the process in large part. We heard early on that there should be more involvement with the fire department. So we inserted a couple key points in the process where the fire department can give a preliminary review, and then also on the back end, they're able to give a review that's part of the final site plan review. That's pretty important because a lot of times, well, not a lot of times, I'm just generalizing here what I've seen in different communities, but sometimes if the fire department's not required to be involved in the preliminary review, somebody starts designing a site and they didn't get any good initial feedback by the fire department. And they design a site, they're through thousands and thousands of dollars of architect engineer fees, and now they have to revise their drawing in a substantial manner because the fire department's coming down in the 11th hour on turn width, maneuvering lane width, apparatus set up for a large three-story building, just various concerns. I'm not saying you do that, but that's the benefit of engaging your fire department early on. Um, and so that was one big change we made that was after consideration of the Planning Commission. We clarified the validity and expiration details around a site plan. Those are the details around when a site plan expires if they don't develop it. You don't want to have a site plan lingering in development purgatory for 5, 6, 7 years because your ordinances could change or your master plan could change, and you might not want to kind of allow that site plan that's been lingering to build 7 years later. Right now, I believe we are providing, I believe, a 2-year requirement that they're required to build with, I think, a 1-year extension. And I can fact check that if you're interested. But we also revised the thresholds in which the zoning administrator can review certain plans as well. Right now, I believe the zoning administrator can only review accessory buildings that are 400 square foot or smaller. That's a really low threshold, in my opinion, on these zoning ordinances. Um, we've when I say we again, it's myself and the planning commission working through this. We've landed on the number of 1,200 square feet. So allowing the zoning administrator to review accessory buildings of 1,200 square feet or less. Those are things like garages, sheds, pole barns. Um, those wouldn't be, you know, a commercial building or anything like that. They would be the accessory buildings on the site. Another thing we did is we tied the end of the site plan review process to the land use permit
Hang on,
process.
there's a question.
Okay.
Go ahead.
So my understanding from our zoning administrator is that accessory dwellings were not permitted under our zoning ordinance currently.
It says
Is that?
accessory building is.
Yeah, I don't know if we're doing anything about
So-
accessory
Oh,
dwellings.
so you're talking build, okay, all right.
Like a pole barn or a.
Okay,
Or
but
shed.
not accessory, we're not talking accessory dwelling. Okay, all right, thank you.
So then we also, yeah, we tied the site plan review process to the land use permit process. The county requires a land use permit as part of the building department process. So it's important that we're on the same page with making sure our land use permit process is indeed coming at the right time in the development and that the right correct you know, T's are crossed and I's are dotted in terms of the land use permit process. We similarly made a couple small changes to the special land uses article. Um, One of those key changes was also involving the validity and expiration details. How long a special land use is valid for? When does it expire out if they don't build on it? How it can get revoked if they are not complying with their conditions or the rules around their special land use permit. And then also the fact we clarified that a special land use runs with the land. There was some confusing language in there before in the current ordinance that kind of requires somebody to reapply for the special land use if they change owners, which is that's a kind of a zoning no-no. You want to allow for private property right protection. You want to allow as special land use to run with the land. Um, and then we defined an environmentally sensitive area and substantial construction in light of these amendments. One of the key things is that the site plan review gets a little bit more detailed, and the developer is required to show environmentally sensitive areas on their site plan, and the planning commission can consider them in the design of the site plan now. So that's why we plugged those in as definitions. And that was a key, the key reason for that was the master plan. So any questions here? And that actually concludes my formal presentation. So I'm happy to keep the presentation up, but happy to just answer any questions on these bundles.
So I did have a question on this and it relates to, you actually had some text on the prior slide. And in our packet, it's on page 34. When I read through this, I found your wording on your, so this is on the one it's the next one down. It was bundle C. If you can show the one on bundle C, right now you're on bundle
Oh, yep.
1B. There you go.
And
So-
34 in the packet.
Your second bullet under revised sections where it says revised thresholds of the zoning administrator can review less than or equal to 1,200 square feet. I think that's really clear. However, the text on page 34 says, I found it really hard for me to understand the first time through, single family dwelling or an accessory use or building not containing more than 1,200 square feet. Now that I've seen your other description, that's more clear, but I was curious why you didn't just use the terminology less than or equal to 1,200. To me, that's more clear, but honestly, I was kind of guessing when I read item A under 12.02, and it's
Yep.
just a comment. It means the same thing now that it's been explained to me, but it was hard for me to understand.
Yeah, let me look at that. So that's 12.02A, correct?
Yes, that's correct.
And Andy, get right nice and close to your mic there. There you go.
I guess I don't even understand why we would say an accessory use or building. I mean, I mean, accessory use could be a dwelling. I don't know. I mean, I think that could be misinterpreted. It should just say, it says a single family dwelling or an accessory use or building. What would be not a building? A barnyard maybe, or I don't know, a farm field fenced off, I'm not sure.
A chicken coop. I don't know. That's not a use of the building.
Probably makes sense, but I don't understand it.
Yeah.
Well, one example that comes to mind is the veterinary establishment on the west side here, or east side, that was recently reviewed for allowing a community gathering space behind it. So there was, the primary use of the building is as a veterinary office, but there's an accessory use behind that. So it's possible to have a primary commercial use and then other related issues,
Just doesn't
accessory
have a
uses
building.
to it.
Okay,
Inside the building or not inside it. It could be either way.
got it. Oh, that's better.
I just muted Andy. It'll come back when he talks.
Yeah,
Okay.
I'm reading it.
If you want to speak to him, let him know, and then I'll unmute again. So just so we don't hear that noise.
Example for a commercial building, so is this, I mean, this doesn't look like it's applying just to commercial buildings.
No, it's just in general.
This is
That was just an
general.
example.
General terms and general processes. So this is site plan review, which would apply to a commercial building also.
That's probably existing language there, and all we did was change the number. I can't remember that conversation, though.
If you want to raise alpacas and
Seems like you could use some commas in here too that would make it more clear, maybe. Maybe some punctuation.
Yeah,
It's a very
perhaps a-
small issue, but it's a really key point that you're trying to make. Here it is.
he's back.
Okay, so you could consider whether it would make sense to like finesse that wording to make it more plain. I'd suggest you show it to a lot of people that are unfamiliar with it.
Yeah,
I also
could-
had a question, similar to that.
Sorry, Andy's speaking again. Did you want to say something, Andy? And you're
I-
muted
He's
now.
I was just gonna say I can add a comma or just split it out to be a separate line if there's too many ors. Yeah.
Andy, if you want to say something, could you just raise your hand for me so I can tell that you're okay? Cool.
Yeah, I'm wondering about that. So I also noticed on page, I had it noted on, I noticed there was some discussion in this section about under the development process of a project, a pre-application. And it talked about number of planning commission members present, and I think that's on page 35. Maybe it's actually on the bottom of page 34, and it says 3 members, so it's 12.03 item B. It says optional pre-application conference, 3 members of the planning commission and such other township representatives, so that's fine. But then when I looked back on page 23, under PUD review, if you flip back, it says 2 members, and I was kind of curious why. It seemed like it was this very similar activity. Let me see if I can find where that other number was in here, but it was like, well, why is one? Yeah, so on page 23 and 7.05 item A, it says a pre-application conference with the zoning administrator and no more than 2 members of the planning commission. And it seemed like it was a really similar activity, and I didn't know if it was a typo or if it was intentional. I know you have to avoid the quorum of the
One looks
PC.
to me like that's the requirement that the township sets, and the other one looks like it's the option of the applicant to request 3 plus the zoning administrator.
And up to.
Hmm.
Because it's a quorum otherwise.
I think the quorum of the planning commission is 4. Is that not correct? Okay, so I think both of them are less than a quorum. I was just curious if there was a reason for this or if it was a mistake.
probably written at two different times, and I don't know if that was existing language that wasn't changed, and one was and one wasn't.
I would suggest,
Bylaws speak to that issue as well, in the planning.
I know the bylaws talk about not being able to have, they talk about a quorum, and I think they also
Well, that-
talk about gathering outside of planning commission meetings, and I don't remember those exact, I know the quorum is 4.
But that can change. What if you only have 5 sitting members? Because you haven't appointed 2 others or something, you know, that quorum changes.
I think that's pretty standard
says-
per the
it says
statute.
Number.
That you have to be a much bigger township to have a much bigger planning commission. Somebody would have to
Oh.
check.
you saying what if?
No, I'm saying you only have 5 sitting members, 3 is a quorum. That's what I'm saying.
I would
You
have
have
to
two-
check
you have
whether
two
or not
vacancies.
that's true or not. I would have to check.
Like when we're gone, if 2 of us are gone, a vote of 2 to 1 takes the vote.
That's true for taking a vote, but you still have
Right.
to have a quorum of 3 to have a meeting.
Right.
So that's no, the,
We're going off topic.
Anyway.
but
but I'm just asking the question whether do we, when you have these pre-official, so whether it's a preliminary site plan review or a pre-application conference in the context of a PUD, is there a reason why we're setting slightly different standards? They're very similar, but slightly different. And it just, sometimes you're making it harder on yourself than you need to remember all the rules.
Looks like Andy has a hand raised if you wanted to
Okay,
hear
great.
from him.
I think that's a good point. This was just accidental. I think what we could just say a non-quorum of members or something like that. That way you're not really you're not relying on some bylaw or some membership loophole or inconsistency as well in terms of what constitutes a quorum, whether it's 3 or 5 or 4 or whatever. I think we could just say up to a non-quorum of, or just say a non-quorum of members. I mean, I think this is an optional review anyways. I don't think anything's legally binding on this review. So I think it's just more to solicit feedback. And the preference should probably be as many as not as you can without making a quorum, just so you can be as thorough as possible in hearing a diversity of members' voices. But I don't think it should be binding by any means.
Anybody else have comments or questions?
Randy got that chair again.
Probably had a better one.
All right, so if there's no further immediate questions for Reen or the consultant, then we'll move on to our next agenda item.
So I thought that there was a recommended motion in the packet.
Yeah.
So under new business, we would take that up. That was added to.
So this is just the reports with, okay, and then I don't think I listed that separately under new business. did I?
No, you didn't. We amended the agenda
amended the
to
amendment.
list it
Okay,
separately.
all right.
Add it so we could discuss
Okay.
what action you want to take.
Okay. All right, so the next agenda item is this information that Jill provided.
I just wanted to clarify some facts because we have just a lot of misinformation floating around in our township, and one in particular, because it's still an ongoing issue. I just think it's very important to ensure that there is a factual response made and preserved for the township records. So I'm just gonna read this and I'll do it as quickly as I can. The purpose of this memorandum is to clarify statements made during public comment at the June 30th, 2026 public hearing regarding the matter involving Clerk Wendy Hoaxema and the additional hourly compensation paid to the clerk. Because these comments involve the board's prior actions, township policies, in an ongoing manner that has not yet received final board action, I believe it is important that the public record accurately reflects the facts for the benefit of the board, the public, and any future review of these matters. During public comment resident Connie Highmore addressed the board regarding the quote unquote alleged embezzlement matter involving clerk Wendy Hoeksema. Ms. Highmore stated that the board alleged that the clerk paid herself unapproved hourly wages. This statement accurately reflects the basis of the concern raised by the board. Ms. Highmore further stated that all board members were aware of the additional wages, that the trustees watched the money, that the treasurer signed the checks, and that the board voted to approve the paychecks. These statements are not consistent with township official records. At no time did the clerk present to the board a request to receive hourly wages in addition to her salary, nor did she seek board authorization for such compensation. Likewise, at no time did the township board vote to authorize additional hourly compensation for the clerk beyond the salary established for that elected office. The township's policy and procedure manual provides that salaried employees are compensated through their established salary. The policy permits certain non-salaried employees, including the trustees, when performing work beyond their regular trustee responsibilities, to receive hourly compensation under authorized circumstances. In order for a salaried elected official to receive additional hourly compensation outside of their established salary, the board would first have needed to amend its compensation policy or otherwise formally authorize such compensation through board action. No such policy amendment or board action occurred. It's important to note that in May 2025, the board did approve a $15,000 annual salary increase for the clerk's position. The purpose of that increase was to recognize the expanded workload associated with the office, including the expectation that the clerk would perform both statutory and non-statutory responsibilities, requiring a greater time commitment than other elected officials. The board's expectation was that the position would generally maintain regular office hours Monday through Thursday from 9 a.m. until 5 p.m. Additionally, the board took steps to assist the clerk in carrying out certain statutory duties by authorizing the hiring of a recording secretary to prepare board and committee meeting minutes and an election specialist to assist with voter registration, election administration, and related election duties. These responsibilities are commonly performed by the clerk or deputy clerk in many smaller townships like ours. These actions demonstrate that the board recognized the increased demands of the clerk's office and had already provided additional compensation and administrative support intended to assist the clerk in successfully performing the duties of the position. The additional hourly compensation was not discovered until several months after the payments had occurred due to multiple factors. Initially, the treasurer was not receiving complete payroll documentation from the clerk despite repeated requests, which limited the ability to thoroughly audit payroll activity. This matter was addressed with the clerk in private and with the board in public meetings on several occasions. Various problems that made it difficult to find the additional wages included missing time cards and payroll reports, additional meeting stipend payments, and the treasurer's lack of direct access to the payroll software system until months later. Mrs. Highmore stated that the treasurer signed the checks. This statement does not accurately describe the township's payroll process. Payroll is issued through direct deposit, and there are no paper payroll checks requiring the treasurer's signature.
It's not true.
Additionally, there's a few people left that have hard copy checks. Additionally, the clerk had the ability to initiate electronic transfers of township funds into employee bank accounts, including her own. Mrs. Highmore also stated that the trustees watched the money and that the board approved the paychecks. The board does not review individual employee payroll details or approve individual compensation transactions. The board approves the total monthly payroll amount for the township. Individual payroll entries, hourly calculations, and compensation details are not presented to the board for approval through that process. Once the unauthorized compensation was identified, the matter required a detailed review of payroll records and supporting documentation. The board sought legal advice and provided the clerk an opportunity to review the findings, acknowledge the issue, and voluntarily reimburse the township for the unauthorized wages before determining appropriate next steps. The clerk's noncompliance ultimately led to turning the case over to the Michigan State Police. Mrs. Highmore expressed concerns regarding transparency and indicated that she submitted a Freedom of Information Act request. I find it concerning that I was never contacted by the clerk to provide records responsive to that request. My records include payroll documentation, CPA audit reports, policy and procedure manual sections, email correspondences, samples of payroll packets, missing information, attorney recommendations, the timeline of discovery, the clerk's rebuttals, meeting minutes, attorney bills, and many other materials considered during the review of this matter. Those records contributed to the conclusions independently reached by 3 board members, the township's outside accounting firm, and 2 attorneys, that the clerk received unauthorized hourly compensation. While the Michigan State Police ultimately declined to pursue criminal charges, that decision did not determine whether the payments complied with township policies. The matter was returned to the township for consideration under its own policies and procedures. It's important to recognize that the matters involving township operations, administrative procedures, ethical expectations, and compliance with adopted policies are separate from the question of criminal liability. Public trust depends not only on compliance with the law, but also on transparency, accountability, and consistent adherence to established procedures. At a minimum, the facts establish a violation of the township's policies and procedure manual and code of ethics. The board has not yet taken formal action regarding these policy violations. An attorney-reviewed resolution of censure has been presented to the board on 2 separate occasions and remains available for board consideration. Township elected officials are required to be bonded and insured to protect the township and taxpayers in circumstances involving financial loss. Depending on the available coverage and findings, an insurance claim may allow the township to recover some or all of the unauthorized compensation, along with certain expenses incurred during the review process, including attorney fees and costs associated with special meetings. And that is, last I knew, right around $10,000. I respectfully recommend that the supervisor, Linda Lopsima, who took over the investigation on February 17th, 2026, that's according to our policy and procedure manual, evaluate whether submitting a claim under the township's bond and insurance policy is appropriate. Research and recommendations have already been submitted to the board on 2 occasions. This memorandum is submitted solely to ensure that the township's public record accurately reflects the actions taken by the board, the township's compensation policies, and the factual circumstances surrounding this matter. This is the stack of information that is related to the investigation. This was not given to Connie Highmore because it was in my office, locked in a drawer, and nobody ever asked me for it.
It's not the FOIA that she asked for, so you're twisting it.
Okay, well, she said in her statement that she requested a FOIA looking for the information, so,
She probably used the facts.
okay. I would like to, ask that this be received and filed as a permanent part of the meeting packet. And I have a motion ready to do so.
My understanding is that the meeting packet is not a permanent record of the township. Is that correct?
Correct.
So only the meeting minutes, the only motion that you can make is what you just read, be a permanent part of the meeting minutes. You can't change the packet.
No, according to MTA, you can, after reading it, ask that it be received and filed as a permanent part of the meeting packet without having to be verbatim in the minutes, because the other option is to put that verbatim in the minutes. So that was the option that is recommended by attorneys, and the motion is directly from what MTA recommends. So it just needs to be stored. The public just needs to know that it's part of the permanent record and where it's stored.
I think just to not to make it argumentative, I think that discounting you researched obviously, and that probably makes sense to me, but that would just require that I'll just redo the packet. We'll put it up on the website with that addition. But again, as far as retaining the board packet, I don't think there is a timeline. Is there? Does anyone know? I don't, the board can decide to keep stuff on their website for a year, 2 years.
It's whatever our.
Minutes are permanent,
Yeah.
in the clerk's office, but the packet itself. But certainly that could require us to redo the packet. So it's out there until we decide not to have it out there anymore.
Right. Well, we have packets for the
Well, we
last
do.
few years, I
We
mean,
do,
years.
because we haven't
worth.
eliminated any, but
Right.
I would like right now the discussion to be on the issue in front of us, not some of the administrative
unless you're making a
semantic.
motion.
I have not heard us, I guess I didn't clearly hear a motion.
I haven't read it yet. I was trying to explain what
Okay.
it was.
Not,
Right.
I'm not very clear on what we're trying to do here. It's not clear to me. Add it to the packet, that the packet's already
It's
been
just to
produced.
add it to the permanent record, that this is part of the permanent record. If somebody FOIA'd this or wanted to see this, that it would be saved somewhere in the township, that the public would have access to this if they wanted it.
Well, from a FOIA standpoint, I think since you wrote that and you're supposed to retain records of what you have written and distributed to the board, I would think that would be the source possibly,
Couldn't
but
that be FOIA-able? I mean, wouldn't that, if somebody wanted to?
Everything that
I
we
think
do is
anything
public
on your
record.
computer is.
So
FOIA.
it's been made part of the public
Anything's on
record.
your phones.
So this is already part of the public record,
It is.
right?
Yes, but this is the recommended process from MTA to.
So I think it would be
Yes.
appropriate at this point to let other board members, if they have a response or a comment regarding this, to allow the other board members to have an opportunity to share any thoughts that they have on this.
It's a little bit frustrating when this just gets dropped in your desk 2 minutes before the meeting and didn't know this was coming up as.
I tried to get it in the packet on Monday. I had issues with my mom last week that required a couple days of my time, so I couldn't make the deadline for the packet, but I did try to get it in by Monday so people would have time, but.
I mean, I just saw it an hour ago.
I know.
Okay.
Do you want me to
so
read the
other-
motion just so you know what?
I
I'm
think
asking?
other people should have a chance to speak first.
Well, we should have a motion. Well, no, we're under reports, aren't we?
This is in reports.
Yeah.
Wendy, do you have any comments you would like to make?
Based on the amount of public feedback, you're just making yourself look worse and you look like you're trying to smear me even more, making us into a toxic atmosphere, trying not to be a team player. My attorney told me not to talk about any of this. I just want to also say that the MSP, I've already spent enough money on myself trying to defend myself. I just wanted to report the MSP case 75-26-953 is not just about me. It is about other people on this board as well. Other people have not been cleared yet. And so if you read the statement there, it says about OMA or missing tax payments or business hours not being available for people to pay their tax payments. That's not about me on that case. So I would think that the public has a right to know that as well. Also, my salary was raised for statutory duties. I'm just going to say it again. I've went through 2 deputies because of the toxic atmosphere in this building. And I am trying to do my best and do my work as best as I can, and I think the public knows that. I have not the one also that has not followed policy. I can start pointing to fingers around this room too.
Okay, Tim, any comments?
I don't know what good it would do
Mm-mm.
at this point, but
Okay,
I do agree, and I said in a prior public meeting that it was even pointed out by somebody in the public that it was not our role to determine whether what happened was a criminal thing. That was not our decision, and that is why it went to the state police to investigate. I believe if we would not have done that, I think some of the very same people would have said it's a cover-up. And so I think we had to follow the process as recommended by our legal counsel, and that is exactly what we did. And so I wasn't surprised that it came back with the result that it did. But it did point back to, it's a policy issue of the township that the township board needs to resolve. And I believe a few meetings ago, I wasn't here, Joe wasn't here, you reviewed for the second time policy section 3.0, this specific section that says non-salary employees are not allowed to have additional compensation. And to me, it was very clear what that meant, but apparently not clear to all. I think we could make it even more abundantly clear, and we should. And we should do it soon. But other than that, I think that's the only thing that this board can do. And that's sort of my stance on it. I disagree with Wendy. I believe when we gave the raise, I remember the meeting, I remember the thought behind it, I remember the arguments from the supervisor that it was justified, she deserves it because of this, that, and the other thing. We had just turned over FOIA response requests. And two, when you look at material from MTA, it lists the statutory duties of a clerk, a treasurer, a supervisor, and it's very scant. I mean, there's just general elections, finance, I mean, very limited scope. But it also states in some of the materials that other typical duties of a clerk are FOIA requests, this, and this, and this. And those are some of the things that Wendy was paying herself for. And so, I mean, that's just my, but that's my view. That's my view on what we approved. And so that's just how I feel. That's what I said in a prior meeting, and it doesn't, just because of what MSP said, it doesn't change my opinion that we need to look at our policy and we need to make it clear so that somebody else in the future doesn't have that misconception.
I would agree with that. Let me just add on to what I said there. I think we inherited a policy and procedure manual that is flawed. And I'm concerned about weaponizing that at any given time, that we could take about any section of that and pretty much say, this that wasn't complied with, we're going to blow it up into something large. We've got a lot of work to do to get that policy and procedure manual improved. So I'd like to see us work on that, and I'm open to more changes to that section to clarify things as far as how that works. It is vague.
Okay, I have just a couple quick comments. I would say, because I didn't see this in advance, I would typically want to double check some of these things because they're not exactly the way I remember them. I would say that Jill has corrected several inaccuracies that members of the public have made, such as that she doesn't sign all the checks and those sort of things. Some things also about, I will admit openly that when we decided to give Wendy a raise, it was probably not as well-formed and outlined of a motion as it should have been. And I think that's on all of us. And I have thought of that many times going forward. So certainly there is ample opportunity to improve our policies and procedures. And I would like to move on and fix our policies and procedures. So that's all I have to say. So Jill, would you like to make a motion at this point?
Not if none of you want to agree with it or move forward, so
And
it's.
you can
well,
put
it's-
it to a test if you would want. That's what I'm offering to you, if you would like to make a motion and.
Well, I'll make the motion. This is straight from what is recommended to do, so it is the right thing. I move that the township board receive and file the treasurer's memorandum dated July 6, 2026 regarding the public comments made at the June 30th, 2026 public hearing, and that it be retained as part of the township's official meeting records.
I'm going to second for discussion purposes.
Okay, so at this point, Jill, since you made the motion, you're the first one to make any additional comments.
I do not have any additional comments. I just think it's the right thing to do. I think there needs to be established, not only do we need to fix our policies, which I agree. I mean, I think in this case, the policy is very, very clear. I've never heard of any salaried person. I mean, the entire point of being a salaried exempt individual employee is that you don't get paid extra hourly wages for things that you do. That's just part of being a salaried exempt employee. And I think our policy was very clear on that. And I think that if the shoe was on the other foot and it was me that did something like this or somebody else, that person would be tarred and feathered and probably sitting in jail right now. So I just, it's frustrating that we're not holding anybody accountable, I guess, for this at this point. And it's been months and months and months, and there's been no accountability. So that's all I have to say.
Okay, other comments?
I had the second. I only supported it because, and it's not about Wendy. It's about, I think that a point has been made, and Randy he did do it on the 30th at a meeting with some misinformation that was put out by the public, even in the Elk Rapids News. And I think that it's very important for this board when they hear things in public comment that are not factual, that are not true, to not respond to that gives the impression that we endorse it, that it is factual. And I think that what Jill is providing is better, more factual information than what we heard at that podium. And I think to set the record more straight, I think that it's appropriate that it just be approve the motion to put it in the record, that this is the rebuttal to that public comment. But I'm not, for me, relating it directly. My issues are not about everything that was covered in that memo. Mine have already been stated a little bit. So that's where I'm at with it.
Okay. Who would like to go next?
I will. I agree with that. We need to set the record straight. I guess I object to having something given to me just before the meeting as complex as this. This is 4 pages of material, and I don't know that this is something that I can say, yeah, that's right. I just no time to review this. Hearing it, I'm sure you have your reasons for saying what you did, but I need time to look at this stuff and make sure that I can agree with that.
Wendy,
I have no further comment.
further? The one thing I would say that crosses my mind is making this part of the record. Jill's name is on this, not the rest of the board members. And this motion is not us validating this information. I believe your motion was to make it part of the record of the meeting.
And it is based on my, my experiences, my records. I know that there are additional records still probably out there that,
It's you too.
that are not part of my packet, because I know, Linda had to take over things, and I'm sure there's additional correspondence and stuff that she has that I do not have access to.
All right, so any further?
Oh, that's a good point.
Further comment?
I mean, you help me clarify that. That is not the board position here. This is Jill.
The motion is not the board endorsing this.
But if you put it in the packet and you are endorsing it, yes, you are. And you're also calling out people in the public that have slander issues now, in case you put this into a packet.
There are public that are making so many inaccurate statements, then it just cannot go
There's
unaddressed. I
better
mean, we
ways
just-
to do that than this.
These are facts, and they should
Okay,
be.
are you guys ready to vote?
I'll just say she could have put this in the packet on Thursday and she was unable to. And there was no ability for her to change or add it to the agenda until what she did today. So it wasn't intentional. She intended to have this in the packet, but she had personal circumstances. But it could always go in another packet. I mean, it didn't have to, I mean, it could have waited, but.
Okay, roll call vote when ready.
Aaron's,
No.
Kester,
Yes.
Milnick,
The motion was again to put this in.
the packet.
It's
And
the
permit record.
MTA recommendation. I can read it again if you want. I move that the township board receive and file the treasurer's memorandum dated July 6th, 2026 regarding the public comments made. And it is just to be retained as part of the township's official meeting records. The other option was to read it verbatim and ask for it to be put in the minutes verbatim. This is
did read
a
it.
shorter.
She did
more
read it
appropriate
verbatim.
way
It's
to
on
do it.
Zoom forever.
Wendy, can you restate that without?
I said
somebody
it,
else
she
talking?
did read it on verbatim and it's on Zoom forever.
You don't have to retain Zoom.
So Aaron's, no. Kester, yes. Milnick,
No,
Hoaxma, no. Slopesma,
No.
motion fails.
All right, moving on, we've got the consent calendar. Does anybody want to remove anything from the consent calendar?
I do.
Yes, go ahead.
I want to remove the bills for approval to have a little discussion. And I would like to remove the fire truck.
Okay, I think we've got our new firefighter here as well, that we'd like to remove that item so we can have an opportunity to talk to him. Anybody else want to remove anything else? All right, do I have a motion then to approve the amended consent calendar?
I'll make a motion to approve the amended consent calendar.
Okay,
I'll second Melnick.
and seconded by Melnick. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Was opposed? Unopposed. All right, so of our items removed from the consent calendar, why don't we take our new firefighter first? So Josh, if you'd like to come up and introduce.
Yeah, so I have just newly graduated from the Northwest Regional Training Center. Blake, I actually can never, I botched your name when I did graduation as well. So Jarzell. Yeah, see, I did it during graduation too when I read the names. He was he's actively seeking a department close to his home. You live on 4 Mile. And he was obviously being a lead instructor at the academy. I spent 6 months with him as he was going through fire school. He was a great student, and I was really excited to have him come to us to say that he wanted to work with us to get his experience and start his career. He's spent a bunch of time at our department trainings over the last month, just getting to know the team. He's melded really well. He went to class with a bunch of them anyways. He's getting ready to start EMT school. So I will let you guys have some questions if you got some time for them.
Well, welcome.
Hey,
Blake.
thank you.
Hi.
Thanks for
Thanks
having
for
me.
coming.
Appreciate it. Just-
Anybody?
What interested you in this line of work, volunteerism?
I think I've always enjoyed helping people, and my biological father is actually a fire chief down in Florida, and we don't have the best relationship, but I think it's kind of in my blood. It's like a legacy thing. So I've always kind of had that in me a little bit, I think. And yeah, I just really enjoy helping people, and I think this is a great way to do that. So
Other questions? Or comments?
What are your ultimate goals? 3, 4, 5 years down the road?
be full time doing this full time. Right now I work Blashes countertops right on 31 and 72. So I do that full time, and I'll be doing this, kind of like part-time thing, and really hoping to do this full time at some point. So that's my goal.
Hey, Blake, I didn't quite catch all the words. Where do you work?
I work at Blashes countertops right down the road there in 31
Oh.
and 72.
Okay,
right in the
I'm
corner
with you
down there.
now. Okay.
Yeah, I work there right now. It's my full-time job. So
Okay.
yeah.
I had a question about what attracted you to Whitewater specifically.
Really, people I met through Chief Morgan, of course, and then just other people I met through school that were already, at Whitewater. A couple of the helpers there went to Whitewater when I was, in school, and I think just the proximity, being close to home, getting good training, always getting the reps in, because you never want to lose what you learn. So I think that's really important to keep, building, your whole kind of like your tool bag, I guess, when you're doing this kind of work, because you're always learning. So I think there's a lot of really good things about Whitewater. So
Where is home for you?
over on the east side of Traverse, off 4 Mile, so not too far away.
Mhm.
Okay. Any other questions? All right, well, welcome and thanks for coming in.
Appreciate it. Yeah, thank you.
Meeting you.
Yeah, thank you.
I'll make a motion to authorize Whitewater Township Fire Department to hire Blake Jaruzel, did I say that right? As part-time firefighter pending successful completion of the township's onboarding process.
I'll second that. So motion made and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed? None opposed. Congratulations, Blake.
Thank you.
All right, so as long as we're on this fire stuff, Josh, you got some good good information going on as far as people offering money on your air truck.
Yep.
Which is good.
So 2 weeks ago, maybe 3 now. They're all starting to blend together. Received a phone call from a fire department in South Carolina that was looking for our exact truck. It's a community that's closer to the west in South Carolina. So think of our township, but smaller. That the whole county, it's a county-based system, and they needed a truck that this fit that mold. So they offered $50,000 just on the spot. They can have it. They can have a check to us and have somebody up here to pick it up tomorrow. That's how bad they want the truck, sight unseen. Today I did have a gentleman fly in from Arizona, from Rural Metro Fire, which is a private fire company that does contracting to communities for fire protection in 5 states and airports. He spent about 4 hours with me in the truck, going over all aspects of the truck, the undercarriage, the engine, all of the components. They have not yet to make an offer. They are going to. So what my hope is the truck has been listed on Brindle Mountain for 3 months now, maybe. And we've received inquiries, but we've received no offers. And the hope is that we can sell it, not in Brindle, because Brindle does take a 10% commission. And so if we sell through South Carolina, we don't have to pay the commission aspect. This gentleman that was here today, the company he works for is also a subsidiary of, like, that's all like
Okay.
the same company. So we would still have to pay the commission. They get the truck. But we have not received an offer as of yet. But my hope is that we could approve the sale to the truck to the South Carolina Fire Department, contingent on the offer that is made by Rural Metro. Because if they do come in higher, then obviously I'm going to take the higher of the two. But
We have it listed for
60.
60, okay.
And the South Carolina Fire Department's willing to pay 50. That's kind of all the money they're small. So
Okay. So we've got a motion in the package. Would anybody like to make that motion?
I have a comment about the motion that maybe ahead of making it. We don't know what maybe that second offer is going to be. And it's kind of like the bird in the hand thing. You know, I mean, we're going to approve a motion to sell it for the 50 grand to this one place. And then, but if somebody comes in a couple days and offers more, then we're going to.
well, my thought was it's
Yeah, so
these two, like we're going, like it's this or Rural Metro. If Rural Metro doesn't come in with an offer, I don't want to have to wait another 3 weeks to put it back on the agenda. I mean, I can and I will.
Take off the motion, just stop it at supervisor, take off the contingent part. I mean, then it just says for no less than 50,000.
And just leave it to the chief's discretion, no less than 50,000,
Chief
but
and
then we don't.
supervisor, yeah.
And the supervisor, yeah, and not have this other stuff.
Okay,
Because it pits the two against each other.
Okay.
I would just,
that makes sense. No, I'm good with that.
Your motion also says, contingent on review of any other offer received from Rural Metro Fire Department on July 9th.
Today, yeah.
Yeah,
it's
they were, that was supposed to read because they were coming to look at the truck today. So
Should this be, like within the next 3 business days or
Yeah.
something? I
Yep.
think that's reasonable.
Yeah.
That you could give them.
Yep.
Today was kind of a business
Yeah,
day.
he flew in, so he's here today. He'll fly out tomorrow, and then he'll have
Tomorrow, Monday, Tuesday.
Monday, Tuesday. Yep.
So I think that date should be moved a little bit.
I think what Wendy is suggesting, and I agree, is that we authorize you and the chief to sell it for not less than 50,000. We don't care to who.
Okay.
Okay.
But you should communicate to them that I won't sit around forever and waste time.
Yeah.
I mean,
I'm not wasting.
I don't want the South Carolina guys to.
Yeah, to find
withdraw.
another truck. Yeah, so
Okay, so I'll make a motion to authorize the sale of the 2006 air truck for no less than $50,000 with final sale authority granted to the fire chief and township supervisor contingent on review of any offers received through the date of
Yeah.
of July 14th, 2026. And subject to payment in full and completion of all required sale and transfer documentation.
I'll second. I'll second.
So motion made by Slipsma, seconded by Aaron's. Any further discussion? All right, roll call when ready.
Slipsma.
Yes.
Folksma, yes. Milnick,
Yes.
Kester,
Yes.
Aaron's.
Yes.
All right, good job.
Thank you.
Josh. Thank you. All right, next we have bills for approval. Wendy, you asked to remove that. So this is on page 3 of your packet.
I go all the way back up. So there's just a couple things I wanted to point out. One of them was the state of Michigan tax we received in the mail, that the state of Michigan needed more tax paid from January 2025 return, which I believe was from the quarter of 2024 in the previous fund balance tax tables not being correct. I had already talked to Steve at Manor Costeris, and he told me which GL number to put that in, so that's why it's in a wages one. And then he would do the backside to correct, you know, where it came from and everything. I'd also like to point out that Cherryland Electric is now back in our bills for approval. The last bills for approval, it wasn't in there. We received notices in the mail that we had zero balance due. And when we looked in the bank, it has been paid before the actual bills for approval. So it has come to my attention that the treasurer is paying the bills ahead of time before approval, which is against policy because we do not have a policy right now for that. While electric bills probably should be paid in a timely manner, I just wanted to point that out.
We don't even have access to the information until you give us the packet. We take the packet with the invoices after you give them to us when they're approved. How would we even have access to this?
So your deputy told me that he has been signing up for the invoices to be sent to you guys and first, and then you would give it to us.
We haven't done that yet. That was on the agenda to try to get the invoices ahead of time, like we've
So-
been requesting.
So you signed up for bill pay in Alden, correct?
Yeah, it's on bill pay, but
And
we don't
they-
pay the bill until we get the invoice. I have every date, every check, every confirmation. We get the packet from you. We usually pay the bill that day.
So how do you explain that we got a zero bill in the mail that we can
It's
put
probably
into
a
BSNA?
receipt, not a bill. I would
Okay.
imagine that's.
Thank you for,
So can I suggest, and I have before, we have in our policy, we have these recurring charges with utility bills and.
but I'm saying they should be put in.
Oh, let me finish. So we have in our policy that without board approval, the clerk or treasurer, whoever, should be able to approve these recurring charges to avoid late charges. And I've said before, I do not understand, I do it with my own personal utility bills. Everything is set up to automatically pay on the due date, which by the time you get your bill, it's always 20 days at least, I think, is most of the company policies. So there's oftentimes with 2 meetings a month that it's going to even be before the board before it would come out on the actual due date. So there wouldn't have to be any of this manual set it up for payment. It would just be automatic.
So can I explain why this is a problem? That's what I'm saying, is if we got a bill that says zero amount is due, we can't put that into BSNA. It does not let us put it in there at all. So now there are payments that are made in the bank that cannot be reconciled because they were not put into BSNA. They were not on a bills for approval. They got paid before the bills for approval came out.
That is totally.
I have the proof of
Well, I
that.
have the proof that we
So
pay when we get the
That's
packet.
what I'm
to
saying.
me, you two need to take this offline and rectify the.
So my
process.
point is that
Both
the
your
treasurer is doing
responsibility.
things that are not on the policy.
That is totally
So,
untrue. It's a
I mean-
completely untrue accusation.
You guys are responsible for this. I think you need to take it offline and work it out. It
Please.
seems more appropriate use of time of everybody.
Sit together.
We have, well,
Yes,
I have
please. Okay, so do I have a motion to approve?
I just have a question about that account number and I really am
Oh, which
curious
account number?
on the.
The wages. Yeah, that's the one he
That's
told me.
withholding and I can't imagine why he would make you want to put that to wages.
Told me because it was payroll withheld from wages, that he would put it back into wages and then do the journal entry and correct the cash from last year. So,
Okay.
Okay,
One other, are you done? Sorry, one other question on page 3, towards the bottom, there's a payment to, regarding the zoning text amendment refund. That was a question.
great. So
Is
thank you
that-
for bringing that up.
So,
So that was actually an escrow account from Ms. Steelman that I had asked the treasurer to get together and put together a little escrow account thing, but the zoning administrator and I ended up doing that. And then I just decided to go ahead and put that on the bills for approval because she's been waiting for her money. So,
so that's the balance of funds.
Right,
was
that is.
deposited and not used for that zoning amendment on short-term rentals.
Mm-hmm.
Is that correct? Okay. And that was $280 that was left unspent.
Right.
Right. So that was sent to her. Okay. I want to make sure that was taken care of.
okay. Any other questions?
But why would it be an expense if she gave a deposit and we're refunding her? Why wouldn't that go against a deposit account?
that will have to be a journal entry, I believe.
That money should have been in an escrow account.
It is an escrow.
Then that's where the refund should come out of so that it balances out. It's just a thought, kind of look into that a little bit.
I
Can
think we
still
talked
fix
about
it.
that before, trying to get a
So you
separate.
Yeah.
Fix it.
So you're saying
another-
she can fix the account number?
Right, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, none of this is in stone, obviously.
There'll be more of those coming.
Okay. Thanks for the suggestion. Okay, any other comments? All right. I'll make a motion to approve the bills for payment.
A second, Melnick.
Motion made and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, approval of minutes from June 25. Does anybody have any items to discuss?
I have one.
Okay, go ahead, Randy.
Page 4, about midway down, when we're discussing the 5-year rec plan. The very last sentence says Chief Morgan would also like to be involved in the process. I believe we said Chief Morgan will lead the process.
Okay,
Not simply be involved.
Did you say we'll lead the process?
yeah.
Okay.
Is that okay, Josh? Okay. All right. I have, I'm not sure if it's a correction or if we just need to move this sentence. The next item right below, new business ambulance millage renewal discussion. The second sentence says the MMR contract will also be ending. I think that's kind of unclear. The MMR contract does not end until 2029.
So we could always put like parentheses 2029
Right.
behind it.
The other thing I would just say is, this was just like a side comment. So the money we spend with MMR, this is what helps fund it. So, I almost feel like that with the year 2029 would be better, like at the end of the paragraph. It's
So
just a-
here's the thing. So the minutes are what was said
Right.
and done in that time. So not necessarily is everything on here correct, but it's correct to what was happened at that meeting. So now's your chance to say, we can do parentheses 2029 behind that, like just to clarify that. So
I know that this statement was said. I just think it's kind of confusing to read it the way
we said the year 2029 in the,
I believe so.
because I didn't remember hearing that. But it could have.
It might have been from prior knowledge of working with Chief Morgan.
That is when it expires though.
Yeah, that is correct.
So if
Including
you,
the expiration, I just wanted people to understand that,
it's not at the same
it
time.
wasn't happening at the
Right.
same time.
So like putting a parentheses 2029 after the contract is expiring.
Yeah.
I also have a correction. And I was going to use this as an example of what you could do if you do not agree with what the minutes say, because the minutes are presented to you as they happened. It's not always things that you want it to say. Under announcements, under board member announcements, I'd like it to say after Treasurer Kester reported summer tax bills went out Tuesday, 6/23/26. In parentheses, say mailed, actual mail date 6/30/26.
Said they went to the printer on the 23rd. That was a day that they were due to the printer when we exported our file.
I'm just
They
giving,
have a
my-
due date to be mailed before.
I'm giving my
July 15th.
recommendation. You can do your own recommendation if you'd like to change.
But back in the day when we processed our postage up here in Michigan, northern Michigan, at the Garfield transfer station, you would get them the next day.
Well, so that's,
So it's, yeah.
well, saying the actual mail date was 6/30, I think there's implications like for legal and administrative, you know, how much penalties you can assess or whatever, how many days they had it, that kind of thing, if they got it. That's why I wanted to clarify it. And I also know that since mine were mailed at the same place the day before and if people got them the next day, it's more likely that they were mailed 6/30. So
would be the- yeah,
parentheses,
the
actual mail
printer.
date 6/30.
So
At the actual mail date, that's what you're saying?
From the printers, yes. We
Okay.
had to have, our deadline was the 23rd. We had everything to the printer by the 23rd. And
Okay,
they knew
and
there
they
was a
mailed.
July 1st deadline.
Okay.
Well, also, I don't want people reading it and going, well, why didn't I get mine until, you know?
well, that's kind of the problem probably we're having with the survey too.
Post office period.
So-
Yeah. Okay.
My only comment is I appreciate that you emailed it to all of us, so that we were able to review it, because having a meeting every 2 weeks, I get it. You know, you've got 8 days to get it out and you do and whatever, and that's very close to the next meeting. And I will say that other than I still believe that maybe the public comment should just say the name and maybe the topic, but not expand expand as little as possible on what maybe people spoke about, so that you don't misinterpret maybe what they say, or they say, well, that's not what I meant, or whatever, and go with the MTA recommendation. But I think these are the best minutes I've seen in a very, very long time. They're very concise, it's very organized, it's easy to read, and I appreciate it.
Thank you. I agree with that as well. It's quicker for me to read it. Thank you.
Very helpful.
And I like getting it in my email too.
That can continue.
Okay. So do I have a motion to approve the minutes as amended?
I'll make that motion.
I'll second it.
Seconded by Hoeksema. All in favor?
I
Okay, Parks and Recreation items. Josh, you're up again. We got consideration of the township campground playground mulch.
Yep, let me get to,
I don't think that power burns on.
I get through this PowerPoint presentation. Yes. Lead Ranger Tom Bartnicki spearheaded this project. He reached out to 3 different suppliers. One said they would not work with Whitewater Township, so I just wanted to let that be known. The other did not have time nor the manpower to do the project. And the third, which is this outdoor Greener Good Outdoor LLC, provided a project coming in about $10,500. That includes labors and materials and equipment. It would improve the condition of the playground. It would define the area around the playground. It would put down a weed barrier and then mulch over top of it, an approved mulch for playground use. I will say I am camping at the Whitewater Township Park myself right now, and the playground area is in disrepair. And so this project is well needed. There's a lot of weed growth. There are large rocks. It's just it's something that should have been done probably a long time ago. But this is the only quote that we received, that Tom received, that he forwarded on to me. So I just wanted to, we did look for 3 others, but like I said, 1 declined to work with us and 1 said they're too busy. So
Did you have a time frame in which you were hoping to have this done?
that would be dependent on their work schedule. I'm hoping to have it done soon, because we do have a pile of mulch sitting there in the middle of the playground. I'm not entirely sure where that came from.
The tree trimming.
From the tree trimming, so they are looking into seeing if that's usable, if anything, if that's usable as an underground, on the first layer base, and then put something on top of it, so.
Okay, well, I'll make a motion to approve the Whitewater Township Park Playground Surface Improvement Project with Greener Good Outdoor LLC in the amount of $10,500, subject to confirmation that the proposed wood chip material is appropriate for playground use.
I would like to point out in the packet, there is a picture of what it would look like. It's an actual rendering of what the area would look like with the mulch.
I'll second that motion.
With new equipment and everything like
I
that?
wish. No, that's the actual equipment on the site.
Okay. I have a comment.
Oh, go ahead.
So as far as the mulch, it's in the park. We cut down a lot of dead pine trees. So I don't think that sappy pine mulch is going to be the best thing for a playground.
Yeah.
Anyway, but this is very much needed. When you look at when we were doing the God, what was it? Not the 5-year plan, but
Inventory.
yeah, and we looked at the aerial of that. It's embarrassing. I mean, it's just the one concern that I have is I know that with certain playground equipment, there are safety regulations on, as an example, the merry-go-round. You're only supposed to have so much of a gap so that a kid can't fall underneath it. So keep that in mind too, that we're not just doing get rid of the weeds and put mulch up, but we're making sure that, you already talked about putting extra mulch by the swings, but that merry-go-round is an issue.
Yeah, and there is future steps when it comes to our playground equipment that haven't been done, that we need to make sure that everything's compliant with safety standards. So this is the first step, which will lead to the second and third. So this will be a little bit lengthier of a process, but it's much needed. It's very well used. Because like I said, I've been there the last 3 nights and there's kids on it constantly.
How do they plan to take all the weeds out that are there? Do you know?
That I do not know.
Okay.
I don't know if they're just gonna put the weed barrier down and
Okay.
suffocate it or not, but.
Thank you.
And so there's a new timber border going around in this as
Yes.
well.
Yep.
As part of that. So just like a treated wood, some
Yep.
kind of thing. That's
Similar to High Prey.
Similar to High Prey, correct,
High Prey has sand.
correct.
Any other comments, Wendy? All right. All those in favor? Aye.
I
Those opposed? None opposed? Motion passes. Thank you for working on that.
Thank you.
kind of a follow-up question though. Who's going to confirm that the wood chips are appropriate?
That I will probably take on that responsibility because I want to make sure that nobody gets hurt. So,
So you're going to contact?
I will, Tom and I will work with the outdoor company. We won't follow through with the project if it ends up finding out that the wood chips aren't gonna work.
Well, yeah, you got 2 weeks and you can come
Treated
back
wood
and
or-
if you need to get virgin like cedar mulch or whatever,
Yep.
whatever you need.
Yep, I'll have Tom reach out tomorrow. when
Or
he's
the
out there.
chips.
So, perfect, thank you.
All right, thanks. All right, moving on. The next item on here is just a verbal update from myself on the post office expansion relocation. So I gave you guys just a printout. That way it's easier for Sarah to do the notes. And in case you want to look up any of the details. So I received a call from Postal Realty Trust, who is the owner of the post office. So the post office is not owned by the US Postal Service. It's this company that owns different post offices. They stated to me that their current primary plan is to acquire 8330 Old M72, which is the property directly to the west of the existing post office for expansion. They're currently working with the property owner to negotiate a purchase agreement. They stated to me, without me saying anything, that their secondary plan, if that does not work out, would be to come back to the township and attempt to acquire the township parcels that are on the north side of M72, west of the existing post office. These parcels do not have an address associated with them. They are the 2 parcels that are vacant that the township owns. And they're a little bit funny. There's the half-acre parcel that is actually inside the footprint of the second parcel. So it's a total of just over 1.5 acres. This also is where we drive on the side of the larger parcel to get back to the lower ball field. And so I have made them aware all along that one way or another, if it comes to the point where they can't work anything out and they wish to negotiate with us, that they would have to allow us to continue to drive on that one edge of the property. So that, because people drive back there with their children, park their car for baseball games, and they can't be walking all that way. So I'm just bringing this to you guys for your awareness. I know when I let you know several months ago that there was interest in those vacant parcels. We didn't really make a decision, but generally people made comments that they were not looking to get rid of park property. But yet at the same point, I don't think we're gonna put any kind of, we don't have any plans to actually develop that piece of the park property. So I'm kind of throwing it out there in case you want to give me any feedback. Hopefully things will work out the way they would like to right now. They're pursuing that.
Well, if it's across the road, what do they need? More storage? I mean,
They would get rid of their existing parcel.
oh, okay.
They would sell
I see.
their existing and build new, and certainly they know that having to do a ground up build. I don't know what all their estimates are, but
Okay.
I think it would take, I'm not sure if it would take more time or not. I mean, they published that information at the post office also, saying that they plan to, if they acquire the neighboring property, they plan to demolish the building.
Okay.
So, I think right now it's just, this is what they're thinking. It's not really a decision point from us, other than if you want to provide me feedback to provide to them regarding, the availability of those vacant lots.
Well, I'm hopeful the property to the west is going to be acquired.
Yeah. Okay. Any other comments?
Yeah, don't sell park property.
Yeah. Okay, next item is Grand Traverse County Lower Chain of Lakes Ad Hoc Committee. I know that's a lot of words. So I just wanted to update you. This is an ad hoc committee that was put together by the county commissioners. I sit on that committee along with 2 county commissioners and the drain commissioner. And I also have a citizen that lives in the township that's been involved in the Chain of Lakes Conservation Organization, and he sits just as another source of information. And the whole purpose of that committee is to develop policy recommendations to be given to the Board of Commissioners regarding Antrim County's proposed resolution related to the Elk Rapids spillway proposed repairs. And so really the 3 things that they're looking at is the court-ordered special assessment district separation into the upper Chain of Lakes and the lower Chain of Lakes. That's a recommendation from Antrim County. Determine the idealized delegated authority and delegated authority succession for current and future Part 307 orders. So those are lake level orders. And currently Antrim County is requesting that we give authority over properties in our county, which is only Whitewater Township, to the Antrim County Drain Commissioner. So they're evaluating whether that's good idea, not so good idea, and what are the pros and cons. And then study Part 307, which is the lake level orders and the drain code, and develop what is the ideal or equitable SAD cost allocation model. And I kind of explained that below, is just want you to be aware that our assessor has already done some work on our property records, and we have approximately 350 property owners plus potential township responsibility as a municipality. So that's over and above our property on the lake. And potentially county to have to provide funding sources, because it's not just the property owners that benefit from the repairs to the Elk Rapids spillway. It's also the greater community that gets to use the lake. And so that's kind of what's going on. Meetings are continuing. The next meeting is in August. And so any questions on that? There's no decision. There is no decision for this body. It's just information about what's going on. And then eventually we would have to help administer that SAD.
Would the property owners have a say-so in whether or not we determine to hand that over to the.
My understanding is no, that's not something that is a county decision. It's not even our decision as a township. It's the county decision. The only thing people can do is make public comments. It is different than the road assessment that we did where people had to agree, yes, I'm willing to pay. It's different on like lake level orders. It's administered by a judge and the only input residents would have, as well as us, would be to speak in public comment for a hearing that a judge would run. So it is a different process for sure. Other questions? Okay. Now we have recycle bins. Lot going on with recycle bins.
Yes.
I called GFL today and reported the safety problem and asked them to, as quickly as humanly possible, address these flip down doors that have hurt people just trying to drop off recycles.
I would like to make a motion that the recycle bins be removed from the Whitewater Township parking lot as soon as possible for safety considerations.
We'll second that motion.
Okay, motion made and seconded. Further comments, Tim?
It's been pointed out in public comment from our fire chief that relocation of the safety bins is necessary because they are a safety concern. It's been pointed out by myself, by the clerk, by the supervisor that have visually watched how these things are loaded, unloaded, dumped, I should say, right? And people walking around and whatever, they're very close together, they're tight. We've had 2 injuries this week. And I just think it's unsafe, and I know that they're heavily used, and I know that it will be disappointing to people. We have not been able to find a satisfactory location to move them to. And I don't know necessarily that that's entirely our responsibility. This is through Grand Traverse Solid Waste, that a contract for them to even be here. And I think that we should contact them and let them know that I don't even know insurance wise how this works. I know that the supervisor has been talking to the insurance company, and it's a liability. It's a safety issue. Most importantly, our job is the health, safety, and welfare of our residents. And we've been now notified several times that this is a safety hazard. And I think that we have a responsibility to eliminate that risk to anybody in the public. So that's why I support this motion, regardless of whether they go to another site or not. That's maybe not even for us to decide. Maybe that's for the county to decide and figure out where.
Okay, other comments? Jill, you seconded.
Totally agree. Yeah.
Okay. Wendy?
But I do agree that they are a big safety hazard. In many ways, traffic, walking just to this neighborhood. I do use these bins often myself. I have many calls about these bins, so they are heavily used. I do agree that it's probably a county responsibility, not our responsibility, and they should be moved.
Randy?
I agree as well, although I've seen some emails here that have been and I don't know about the injuries that happened here. Can you elaborate on that? You don't have to identify the person if you don't want to, but
If you want to.
I think Wendy, you knew about the first one. I know about the second one, but.
I knew about both of them. So there was a person that just had emailed and said that they had walked between the bins and actually scratched themselves on one of the doors and was concerned about the safety of it. The second person is a resident who comes here every couple weeks. He's the one that's been cleaning underneath them. He rakes, he picks up all the glass, and he went to get up and he hit himself on the door. So,
there's the edges of the door.
right, they're all mangled from them dumping
They've been
them.
bent
Yeah.
So that they don't lay
Yeah.
flat down.
I've seen that.
And I'm not sure you can buckle them up either. I
No,
know, but they have to
they're
be
no longer.
open. Yeah,
Yeah,
they're very bent up.
I wasn't really aware of the actual injuries. I heard that there was something
There
going.
was just recent.
And so there have been questions from the insurance agent as well.
I talked to the insurance company to just make them aware of it and asked him about it. And right away he asked if we had a contract with them. And I said, not to my knowledge. And then I did some more checking with GFL and found out the contract is with the county direct. And the insurance agent just said, if this is going to continue, you need to make sure that there's language in there that the contract covers any accusations about harm for it on our property specifically. And he was concerned that maybe the contract might be too generic.
So there's another liability sitting out there as well that Grand Traverse County does come and pick up those batteries that are underneath there. And those are a fire hazard. So
Is that why they were moved away from the building?
that is,
But they're way out there, so,
they could still
They
explode.
could still,
yeah.
And if someone's dropping one down into it,
I know every time I've used it, there's a ton of batteries in there.
yeah.
We can move it to the fire station.
Says no.
the fire station can catch fire. Typically, the correct way to store batteries like that are being gathered is in a, they're usually in a 5-gallon pail with a spin-on lid because you need to deprive them of oxygen.
Right.
I know that where I used to work, that's how we dealt with them. So. So we've got a motion made and seconded, and that was to remove them as soon as possible. I believe that's what you stated.
Correct.
There's no solution other than discussion we've had about.
My
curbside
concern is
recycling.
making the danger go away. And the
See what's-
solution,
yeah.
the solution can come later. And I think Grand Traverse Solid Waste needs to chime in on, they need to find a suitable place for them if they think this county needs another site here. Along with all the other sites they manage, then they need to find a site for us. We've not been able to do it, so.
So I also saw some discussion about curbside recycling too. that that's
Yes,
still-
so that's part of the puzzle, and that's far from any kind of a done deal, but I did talk to Doug White at Acme Township, got the details. He actually sent me a copy of the contract that they have with GFL, which is, quite attractive. They are paying for way less for garbage than
Yep.
I pay at GFL.
Yeah.
And they get more service. They can have curbside, which would solve the problem for the people. The only thing I would be completely honest is I haven't had any time to research what's involved in. The only way you can get an agreement like that from GFL is that you have to create a local, some kind of local rule that the only people that can collect the garbage in the township would be like GFL, or choosing to do it with Waste Management. And Doug told me he had recently re-upped this agreement a year ago, and he had quoted both Waste Management and GFL was the most cost effective. And so it also included people could elect trash pickup bags or bin, recycle container. And it also included a large item pickup once a month. I thought, wow, how many?
Never knew that. And I had a question on the thing that you sent us, that memo that had
Yep.
the quote on there. Was that what that's the contract for what the people are being charged, or is there a
Right.
charge to the township?
I verified
Both
that.
are-
Acme Township pays nothing. All
Okay.
they did was negotiate a deal for their residents.
Okay, gosh, that'd be.
Go out for
awesome.
bid and make
So
a decision, and they're an exclusive
so you're
provider.
basically agreeing to have GFL be your provider for solid waste for the whole township.
And it's a benefit because then you don't have a trash truck one day and then you got people leaving their things out, and because another one doesn't come for 2 more days, and then they had a lot of problems in the city
Big
with
advantage of
destroying their alleys and
Plus the curbside recycling issue would be huge for our community, I think, to be able to put out a separate bin for recyclables like many other places do.
right.
Okay, so back to the motion. The motion.
So
on
is
the
that
floor.
something that you're gonna pursue?
I was gonna pursue it, or I would be really happy with everything else that I'm working on. If somebody else would like to do that, I think it's a think it's a relatively well laid out, especially since, you know, this contract was just redone in
Mhm.
2025. So if somebody else has a passion to do that, I'd welcome anybody being willing to assist with that.
You could delegate it.
You have a deputy.
Well, I have this guy that I delegate a lot of things to, but I didn't want to take away this cherry project from anybody that really has a passion for straightening out trash and getting us all a cost savings.
I think that it would go a long way to, we don't know that that it's just residents. Well, we know that it's not just residents using this recycle facility. It's commercial operations as well. That fill them up. They have to be dumped, 3 times a week?
Mhm.
And I think Linda told me that Whitewater Township is the heaviest used recycled drop off in the county, isn't it? Did you tell?
No, he said compared to like Acme,
Oh,
we
okay.
are
All right.
producing way more recycles than
Yeah.
Acme.
So,
Probably because they have this
but if
program.
we,
Because they have
but if
curbside recycling.
But if we do something that offers curbside recycling like they have in Acme, East Bay, Garfield, City of Traverse City, and others, I'm sure. But if we can offer that, people don't have to take it, but if they want it, then it can be done right at your doorstep and their trash rates will go down by 50%.
Yeah, I mean, this
Yes.
is, you get recycling along with your trash for half of what I pay right now.
Yeah.
I pay like $32 a month.
Right.
And I've only got trash, and for $15.76, I can have both.
Yeah.
And I don't have to put all that garbage in my car anymore.
Right.
And
So I can work on that if you want me to.
thank you.
Please.
Tim. Okay, so we need to vote on this motion. All those in favor of removing the recycle bins as soon as possible and communicating with the county. So
Uh,
I,
Right.
great, motion
And
passes.
who is going to make that contact to GFL to get that rolling? And then who's going to make the
I didn't
contact
call
with?
him. I called Travis already today, so I'll call him and then he,
He'll work with solid waste with us?
yeah.
Okay. You can delegate that
I will
part too.
call. And just a question for Wendy really quick. Do you have a specific hotline contact to the recycle people at Grand
do.
Traverse County?
Yeah.
Can you provide that to me?
Mhm.
Because I just want to close the loop with them.
So one other thing on this though, obviously they're gonna have to give us advance notice. When is this gonna happen? When are they gonna remove them? And I know that, is it not Josh, Tom, I think he has a contact to make signs that he did last year at the park.
It's just a company, yeah.
Okay, but we're gonna need to, have a sign, just letting people know when there's no more recycling here.
There's also one or two signs here that say recycling center that will have to be removed.
Mhm.
I think there's one there and one here.
Mhm.
So we need to be prepared with signs, is what I'm saying.
Okay. All right, so moving on to new business. Just real quickly, also on that paper, I typed up the others. Track of my paper, okay. So in the packet is a copy of Assessor Don's resignation that I received on 6/30/2026, so a week ago Monday. I got her position posted on the Michigan Assessor Association website. It's a 1-month posting. It went up last Friday. The good news is actually after I typed this list up, I got another inquiry. So I've received 4 inquiries to date on this. 2 of the people are extremely well qualified with equal credentials to Dawn, and so that's really good. One of them is local, lives in the area. The other one was from Livingston County, which Livingston County is down by Brighton and Howell area. And so I'm going to continue to talk to these people. I'm getting them to actually send me resumes. And I will probably integrate this into the agenda in 2 weeks to have people come in for interview that are the best qualified. So are there any questions on this? This is also circulating through Grand Traverse County. Equalization Department has fanned it out there, and they also did the same thing up in Antrim County.
So we have 60 days from June 25th.
Yeah, so basically the end of August. I would really like to have a person start with us in mid-August so that there's a couple weeks of crossover.
Yeah, so there was mention that she would facilitate that crossover or
Yeah, I think Dawn will work with us on that, and it's not like she's moving to Florida or anything, so so she'll still be in the area and able to answer questions from time to time within reason. The person that applied locally has 5 years of experience working in a local township here. And so that's really good, I think, to have 5 years of experience. And the proper certification that she's actually getting her last class, and will get her certification in mid-August.
so it's the same level as Dawn as
Yes,
far
it
as
is.
the
I had to learn about that, yes.
assessment levels.
There's 3 levels of assessors, and Dawn is the mid-level. And that's what both of these well-qualified people that applied have, that level. Any questions? All right, so stay tuned on that. Moving on, review and update public comment standards. So I finally got the printer to cooperate. These out. So we received some comments at the last meeting with so I wanted to just go through these. I figured if you guys are all agreeable that we could go through these, the 6 items that we currently have. I provide a little bit of reference information, and we talk about whether we want to leave these items the same or make any adjustments. So I think if we can go through them one by one, I think it's a little bit easier. Okay, so the first requirement for public comment is comments shall be directed to the board with questions directed to the chair. Does anybody want to change anything on that? Okay, I'm not seeing anybody raise their hand. The next standard thing, and this is the printout from the PMP manual. Any person wishing to address the board shall speak from the lectern and state his or her name and address. I did check on this name. You can require them to give their name. I verified that today. Address is not required. I don't know how to say that in an easy way.
Residency.
So, yeah, I would suggest that it say and state whether you are a resident or a business owner. That's the only thing that's important, I think. When you're getting feedback from the community, are you an elector? You know, are you a taxpayer in this community? Sometimes you get public comment that'll come from outside, even out of state, sometimes depending on the issue, right? And I think the local comment is going to be the more pertinent to what we want to hear. And that's why I don't even like that people have to give their name. I thought that you couldn't legally require that. What if they didn't? We're going to let them talk anyway, you know, and we have some people that will not give their name, or some people will just give their first name. And sometimes people are afraid of being targeted. They don't want to give their address. They don't want to give their name. They just want to give their comment. And I just think it's important that they should have to say if they're a resident or a business owner or not,
So-
whatever. That's
When
what
you
I
say
think.
business, do you mean property owner too?
No, because you don't have to be a property owner. You're a resident or you're a business owner.
But you could be,
You're a voter, you're renting. I'm not a property.
no, not, but you can be a renter, but not a property owner. So
Right, but you're a
Resident.
resident still.
resident, property owner, business
You're
owner.
a resident or a business owner. Or property owner, however you want to say that.
I think,
I think that's discriminatory to say property owner.
what's that?
I think it might be discriminatory to say
Yeah, I
property
would
owner.
just say resident or business owner. I think that's what they changed it to at the city, because they had the same issue about people they were
So-
afraid to give their name.
So somebody who owns property here, but lives elsewhere,
True. Or if they're a renter, they still have a say.
yeah, they could be,
Well, you could say resident, property owner, or business owner,
okay.
any of the 3. So I get what you're saying.
Well, you can be a resident without being a property owner.
And a property owner
Right.
without being a resident. Yes,
Right. Okay. So as long as it's all 3, that
Right,
makes
yeah.
sense to me then.
that's a good point. And you get rid of the name thing. They can give their name if they want, but
The only reason it's nice to have their name is if you need to follow up with them later, then we can use the property records or the voter registration to identify their address and send them a note in the mail. You know. Most of the time I know the people.
what do you need for minutes? I know that you've been filling out the card.
There's nothing that's needed for minutes. We just usually put their first initial and last name. Just so that there's some anonymity, how do you say that? Anonymous, yeah, that, you know what I meant. Yes, because I don't want people to be tracked down, like you're saying, so,
Yeah, I don't like the address being on a videotape.
no.
I don't think that's. Anybody could watch that.
What about like when we went to the county, I think it was a road commission meeting, and they had everybody come in, when they walked in the door, there was the podium there, and you just filled out that little postcard with just a basic.
Yeah,
Yeah,
our
basic
cards are,
and you could have a checkbox for
People
a
haven't been-
resident property
I
owner.
just haven't been doing that.
actually, people were really very nicely compliant to that at our big meeting, and that
Yeah,
was
so-
helpful.
yeah.
But generally, most people don't do that here.
Well, you could just ask them if they want follow-up, after their public comment, to state it if they want it or not.
Right. Okay, so back to this, what would people after that discussion like to put? We've got his or her name, and I mean, I'm not gonna argue with people if they just say their first name, it's fine.
Relation to township.
And how about connection to the township? I'm a property owner, I'm a voter, that way they could choose how to describe.
Local law that apply? Well, I don't know, I guess,
Yeah,
but there's options there, as long as you cover people that own land here, but don't live here.
I would say if you could state your name, you don't say have to state your name. Just read it as an option. If you could state your
Their name.
and your relation to the township.
and
I like that. That's, and
so I
then
could say, and state your name. And can state. I mean, you want me to say
If-
can or
I
please?
would say if you could, that way if they don't want to, then it's not like you're telling them they have to. Right now, it's like you have to.
Why don't you just say, if you would like to state your name and your relationship to the township?
That's clear.
Name,
They can just say
okay,
no.
we're good with relationship to the township.
Yep. Good.
The township.
'Cause
Okay.
we have had people come back and say, hey, I lived here for 50 years, and this is what we used to do.
Yeah,
Mhm.
and I mean, yeah,
That
sometimes
would be helpful.
people do that. Okay, so we've got the next one, persons may address the board on matters relevant to the township government issues. Any concerns with that? I think that's good. It is important that they be talking to us about things that we have the ability.
Let's say Whitewater Township government issues.
Okay, so everybody okay, just adding the word Whitewater?
Yeah.
All right.
But what if I see something in another township and I want you to do it? I mean, I guess that's still
Well, it is-
relative to
It is
here.
relative, if you see some, yeah. That you want it applied here. Okay, so the next one's a little bit more complicated. I also checked and I made note of this. The red text on the start of item 4, no person shall be allowed to speak more than once on the same matter, excluding the time needed to answer board member questions. It's a lot of words. This sentence was added by the prior board to the meeting agendas prior to the end of their terms. So it was like late 2024. However, it was never in the manual. So the question is, and I have seen this, I did, and you'll see later, there's footnotes that I did check Grand Traverse County and the city. I just checked some other people's rules and some MTA guidelines. It's not unusual for this to be on there about each person is given one chance. Otherwise, this could go on forever, you know what I mean? And we do have 2 public comment periods. And so I think this could be written in a more clear way. I think the first question would be, do you feel that we should have a statement similar that clarifies each person may speak once? I mean, that would be a much easier way to say this.
Well, so we got rid of that early on. I mean, 6 months ago, because we do have 2 public comment periods, and I know the planning commission still has this in their public comment rules and they read them. But we got rid of that because, you know, the thought was they can talk about whatever they want for their 2 comment periods. What do we care if they want to, you
Right.
know, if they want to, you know, spend their 3 minutes, if that's what they have, to read half of their letter, and then they want to use their another 3 minutes to read the rest of their letter at the end about the same topic. Well, I don't know why we would care.
Well, you could say instead, each person may speak once per public comment period. I mean, I'm comfortable with that. I just think it can become and viewed as unfair if somebody, and we've had this happen, not very often, but occasionally, where somebody comes up twice, and then if that's specifically allowed, then everybody should be able to do that, and that gets very, I mean, that could go on in an infinite way.
So what I like about the fact about eliminating the same topic about no person shall be allowed to speak more than once on the same matter. Why I don't think that's appropriate or right is that we have an agenda and we do public comment at the very beginning, and they can say whatever they want about whatever's on our agenda or in our packet. Then we do all this debate and discuss, and then they have an opportunity at the end of the meeting to talk about what we decided. But if you say you can't talk about the same topic again, then you eliminate their reaction to what we did or the action that we took, you know what I mean? So
Right.
I just don't think it makes.
So I think the question is, do you want to be clear and say, no person shall be allowed to speak more than once, and maybe it needs to say per comment period?
I think
or-
that's accurate there
Mhm.
because
Because
that's,
it's not fair to everybody else.
and if they want to talk about the same topic again at the end of the meeting, what's wrong with that?
All right, so I can just strike this on the same matter, cross that out.
And excluding the time needed to answer in the red, because that is repeated again in the last sentence of that.
Right, it
So,
is. It
Yeah,
is.
we could
Right.
just say no person shall be allowed to speak more than one time per public meeting.
Per
Oh.
Public comment, I
period.
mean, yeah, sorry.
Per-
And then,
Comment period.
then just the rest is
And
fine.
then, yeah, get rid of that. And then it says the chair shall control the amount of time each person shall be allowed to speak, which we need to do that. MTA says we need to do that. Currently, we say which shall not exceed 5 minutes, excluding the time to answer board member questions. So I'd like to talk about this 5 minutes. I did some research on that as well. Most people, the most common number used is 3. Our planning commission uses 3. And later down here on the page, in certain circumstances, and I think this needs to be used with careful discretion. And I will use the example of today. I let Pat Pierce continue because he was telling me things that I had never, ever heard. I had no knowledge of some of these things he was saying. And I think it was critical to allow him to finish, because that was pretty serious stuff. And so, and I'm not saying other people's stuff isn't serious, but most of the time people have the gist out in, early on in what they're sharing. So there can be some discretion, and we have had Mike talk extra too about the Battle Creek Pond overflow. So anyway,
Point being that each person gets the same amount.
MTA clearly says we should try as best as possible for everybody to be given equitable time.
Mhm.
So the chair can control the amount of time for each person to speak, which shall not exceed 5 minutes. I'm asking the question whether it's much easier for us to give more time under special circumstances, or when we have very few people in the crowd, you can allow more time consistently versus to take time away. I mean, certainly that was less than ideal. And when we have these as our standard rules, it makes large gathering meetings very difficult to manage for reasonable time. And we see this all the time. People leave after a while because they get tired of waiting, and it's an awfully long time to have to sit and listen to all this stuff. So
So,
that's all I have to say. What do you guys think?
so, and I have seen the last few meetings, and maybe it's because the language it says which shall not exceed 5 minutes. People aren't reading that part. They're seeing 5 minutes. And we have it in the meeting on the 30th where your own rules say it's 5 minutes and we gave them 2. It needs to be more clear that the chair shall control time to speak. I don't even know if it has to say 5 minutes. I don't even know if it has to say a time. But I think you're right. Most of them are 3 minutes. Most of the time people can state their case on whatever the issue is in a 3-minute period. When we had that very large crowd, I think it was appropriate to limit it to 2 for the time constraints. We're having a night meeting like this meeting. If there were 10 or 15 people here and everybody wanted to take 5 minutes to speak twice in a meeting, it's 2.5 hours of sitting and listening to public comment. And when I talked to Catherine at MTA, and just for people that, I mean, I think she's been legal counsel for MTA for maybe 40 years or something, a long time. And when I told her kind of how things are running here, she said, that your meeting is a business meeting. Every meeting that you have is for the purpose of conducting the business of the township. And it's for directing your staff. It is not a town hall meeting, which is the popular buzzword. And it's not a disrespect to not wanting to hear from the public. Public comment is an essential part of the meeting. But most municipalities have public comment one time. We're here to do our business, and it sometimes, because we have such long public comment periods, it gets overrun by public comment, and the business of the meeting is kind of squished in the middle. And so, and that doesn't mean that I don't like to hear from the public, and I do, but there's a lot of ways that people can communicate with this board. They can do it in writing, with email, with phone calls, and for the longer things that maybe they want to share. But I just think that it should be 3 minutes, be consistent with what the planning commission is doing. But I think the wording needs to be, it doesn't maybe even have to say how many minutes. I think it just should say that the chair shall, based on the crowd, how many people are here. Maybe it changes from meeting to meeting. Maybe you're going to allow 2 minutes at this one. Maybe you're going to allow 3 at this one or 5 at that one. We got 2 people here. What's the harm? And so why tie it to the minutes? I would the chair determines the amount of time for public comment, period. And then it's not in here.
So I have had feedback from people, and some people stated this in the meeting, that they did their homework ahead of time and prepared their statement, and they gauged it to 5 minutes. I mean, I even heard from a couple of people, they practice it at home to make sure they could get it done. And so I just think I'm not comfortable with it being not stated. I think it's okay if it says that the chair does control the amount of time. Or maybe we could use easier words, but I think there needs to at least be a target there.
It could maybe say,
So they know if they're getting 10 minutes or 2.
okay,
You know what I mean? I mean, it's kind of a big difference. I mean,
yeah,
Robert's rules say to allot a time for the meeting, or for the public comment, but also to have people be able to sign up in advance, that kind of thing. But it does say to allot a time, but the chair should be able to decide.
so do we have consensus to reduce this to 3? I mean, you still have the flexibility that the chair could, I just think it's way better for people to have a target. And if we can give them extra time, we can give them extra time. Like tonight's a great example.
Can it say something like, which may be determined between 3 and 5 minutes per meeting, or based on number of people in the audience, or just, to clarify maybe that it's flexible, I guess is what I'm saying, is that it might be 3 to 5 minutes, and it's going to be determined at the beginning of each meeting based on number of attendees.
I think it's,
Oh,
I
Birdie.
just pick a number at that point. I mean,
A lot of people don't even use their whole 5 minutes. I mean, some people always go way over, but a lot of people don't even use 5 minutes. I think 5 minutes is, leaving it to not exceed 5 minutes is fine.
I think it's fine too, the way it is.
All right, well, we have to, I can check other people's wording. I am not comfortable with 5 minutes. I think I think this is part of why the prior board had meetings that went for
They didn't time the
7 and 8 hours. They also didn't time the comments. Which to a certain extent, I know that not everybody likes the timer, and Wendy was gonna work on trying to get a visual timer, but it wasn't necessarily fair. So,
About which, if it said, which shall be between 2 to 5 minutes,
depending on attendance,
depending on attendance.
That's fine, I guess.
could we all live with that?
well, then that put,
You could be seen as
I
playing
wouldn't
favorites.
say depending on attendance, I'd just say between 2 and 5 minutes as determined by the chair. And because otherwise,
That's a fair way to say it, because you
It's
could,
complicated if it's.
yeah.
yeah,
Is that complicated? You're saying that's complicated? I mean,
Oh, it,
No, I mean,
it
if you-
gives, I mean, there's no guidance on what discretion you're supposed to use.
exactly.
To what,
yeah, and yeah.
and then,
I think it'd be better if we just agreed at 3 minutes
I
and tried
agree.
to deviate as little as humanly possible.
Well, I'd kind of like to, this is the hardest part of this one that we're reviewing, and I think we should just put it to a vote on and just move on.
All right, well, let's just do a quick vote on this. I'll make a motion to make the time limit not to exceed 3 minutes.
I'll second it.
Any other comments? All right. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed?
no.
I know.
Okay, so somebody suggest something else.
Between 2 to 5 minutes, just make it flexible.
All right, so why don't you make that motion?
Just to read the wording.
Yeah, just say time between 2 to 5 minutes.
Okay, so the chair shall control the amount of time each person shall be allowed to speak, which shall be between 2 to 5 minutes, excluding the time needed to answer board member questions.
I'll second that so y'all can vote.
That sounds good.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
No.
I'm opposed, but that's okay. It passes. Okay, so it'll be, so let me just write this down, Jill, now.
I mean, sometimes,
Be allowed
you know,
to
it's
speak.
recommended to let us know why you voted no, because I'm curious what you would recommend.
I just think
Or you just leave it the way it is,
Do you
or
think it's confusing to say 2 to 5 minutes? When I come here, what am I gonna get?
what are you looking for? I didn't,
I'm not really sure either. I think
Okay,
5
all right.
minutes, just say not to exceed 5 minutes seems, self-explanatory to me, so.
I just wanted to know your thoughts.
All right, so time each person shall be allowed to speak shall be between 2 and 5 minutes. Is that right?
Yeah.
So be between, don't worry, this will come back to you in 2 weeks for sure.
And it says at the beginning, the chair shall control the amount of time each person.
That makes
So-
it sound like you're gonna get 2, and then I'm gonna get 5. You know what I mean? Like you maybe should have some words in there that say with each person having equal time.
Of course, you.
How about I work on that wording outside the meeting?
Yeah. And if we have to vote on it again, we can,
That's
but
fine. Okay, I
it-
don't want to
it-
spend all night.
it can be more clear.
Okay, there's this note about unscheduled debates. Is everybody comfortable keeping that? I think that's important. I know a lot of people know, but we get new people all the time. And then the last one I have here is comments should be respectful to all parties. And this is where I have some extra information for you. So this is something that we've added in recently. So that's not in the PMP manual. So I went and I checked various sources. So I have 2 MTA sources. I found that they were in the MTA magazine. I checked Traverse City, Michigan.gov and Grand Traverse County.gov. So there were some various recommendations. So the MTA ones are first. They had this article, and one of the things was restrictions on conduct. While the subject matter generally cannot be restricted, boards can adopt rules to maintain decorum, prohibit personal attacks, slander, or disruptive behavior. So that's kind of a statement. It doesn't really suggest words. There was also another thing that was very recently from MTA. It was just in March of 2026. There was an article by Catherine Mulhaupt indicating OMA requires that anyone who wants to speak during a public comment period be given an opportunity to do so as long as the person is following the board's reasonable and lawful rules. Basically, the only time a person might be not allowed to speak is, and then if they have begun to make personal attacks unrelated to the function of the government, at which point the supervisor may ask them to limit their comments. Then the last 2 are statements right out of the public comment rules. The first one is Traverse City. All speakers are encouraged to state their name and address. The presiding officer can terminate any comment that is deemed disruptive, unduly repetitive, or disrespectful. And then the last one is the words out of the policy of the county that they have added the phrase to the public comment language on the agenda, please be respectful and refrain from personal or political attacks. So that's almost exactly what has been added to ours recently, other than it's clarifying personal or political attacks. So I guess what are your thoughts on this? The options here are to keep what's on there in red on the first page, or to potentially expand it or delete it in its entirety.
I think it's fine just saying what it says. It's a reminder. Even though I know now you don't read, I think the PC still reads public comment rules, but I think we got away from that at the board meetings here, right?
Generally, but I mean, in big meetings, I read them because I knew there were a lot of new people.
But it's a rule. But you can't require that people be respectful to all parties. But if it becomes disruptive, unduly or whatever, disrespectful, you can terminate the speaker's time to continue speaking, I suppose, along with, I guess, what the city is doing and a little bit what the county is doing, but you're gonna always face that right to free speech and whatever. And, you know, I think the better thing to do is when it gets to that is going back to number 3. Usually, those kind of comments are not going to be relevant to township government issues. So it falls out of number 3, I would think typically, but not always. I don't know. It's a tough one to handle. I don't know how to deal with that.
Other comments?
I think it is, like what Tim said, it's just a good reminder. We're not really gonna be able to control a lot of it, other than to stop it if it gets out of control, I guess.
I think it's good the way you have it.
Wendy?
I hesitate to restrict anyone's free speech. But I think that there is a difference of subjectiveness of deciding what is disruptive or not, and I don't know if they necessarily know what that point is. Maybe it needs to be a little more clear.
Are you
I
kind of?
mean, like swearing and yelling is not necessarily being disruptive, but threatening, that one is, you know?
Again, I think it's up to the chair to determine. You have to read the room.
Have to shut it,
Is
just
it-
shut it down.
Yeah, is it impeding you from conducting the business of the township?
That's true.
And then if that's the case, then it's being then it's being disruptive to having a public meeting.
I mean-
And I have seen meetings adjourned until a person can, I mean, we haven't had anything close to that here, I don't believe, but I've seen meetings adjourned where somebody had to be removed. So the meeting could continue, that does happen sometimes.
I mean, you
I
could just,
think the more issue we have with anything being disruptive is usually the crowd getting rowdy, not the speaker. I mean, it's usually more the crowd making noise or talking a lot so that you can't.
So we can't hear.
Because I have a little bit of trouble hearing. So,
I mean, you could add to maintain decorum. Comments should be respectful to all parties to maintain decorum.
I think to maintain order, because I think
Mhm.
decorum is not a well understood word. I had to look it up. So. Is everybody okay that, to maintain order?
To maintain.
Put that at the beginning instead of the end.
Mhm.
And I was wondering about the order of this too. It could be appended to number 3, or it could follow number 3.
I'd leave it on its own.
Leave it on its own. And do you want to move it up or just leave it at the
No,
end?
I'm just saying to put this at the beginning. This,
Oh, okay. Thanks for clarifying that. Okay.
Just
and-
Food for thought. I'm looking at Garfield. I was trying to find a few, what other townships did, and Garfield has a statement in their public comment rules or guidelines that say, that says the chairperson may at his or her own discretion extend the amount of time any person is allowed to speak.
we say that.
We just say the chair may control the amount of time a person shall be allowed to speak.
This is
That
talking
would-
about extending.
That would
those.
include extending, I would think.
Well, except we say which shall not exceed 5 minutes, which tonight we did exceed 5 minutes. But I kind of like that the chair can extend the amount of time somebody can speak.
And they don't have any time, while they do, like previous to that, theirs is at 3 minutes. But then right after that, it says a chairperson may at his or her own discretion extend the amount of time any person is allowed to speak, which would be exactly what we needed,
Right.
today.
Yeah.
I tell you what I'm gonna do here. How about I can research this a little bit more for the next meeting, because I don't wanna take up all this time when we've got Reen waiting here for us to talk about the zoning stuff. If that's okay with you, I'll draft this and I'll
Yeah.
do it in red so you can see the changes. Okay. All right, thanks for going through that. I know it wasn't very fun. Back to my agenda, which is over here. Okay, Josh, ambulance millage renewal language. So there were a lot of blanks on what's in
Yes,
the packet,
so
so I was a little
was-
concerned about that.
I'd met with Jill today, like before I had gotten this, on the packet because we had asked to get it on the packet
Yeah.
because we have
'Cause
the
the
next
date.
meeting.
Right.
Is our deadline. I didn't have any data in it yet because I was waiting for the assessor and Jill to get me that data. There was some confusion, and not on anybody's fault. It was just, this is our first time of any of us doing a renewal. So there's some confusion on how to do it. I actually, as soon as I left the treasurer's office today, I called the MTA just to ask some clarifying questions, and I got the answer I was looking for. if we are doing a millage, all millages are, and I have the document right in front of me, all voted millages are increases. If it has renewal, we can't put our 1.5 in there. We have to put the last assessed millage. So whatever it was with Headley rollbacks, 1.37 or whatever.
3789.
So 1.3789 generating whatever Dawn gives us for our tax rolls. That is what would go in the renewal millage for 2026, subject to Headley rollbacks, which then allows it to continue being rolled back for the next 3 years. So that is why there were blanks in there, because it was waiting for that information. So my recommendation is that we table this till the next board meeting and we can actually get the data and the numbers in there, and then we're gonna be good to go. I'll get this to legal because MTA did recommend having legal review it, even if we're using the exact same verbiage as last time. Just to make sure all of our ducks are in a row. So I just wanted to give you something because you had asked for it.
Dawn suggested sending it to the attorney as well, and she is not an expert on this. She does not know how to fill this form out either, but she kind of verified what we verified with MTA, or what Josh verified with MTA today too.
Okay, so is everybody in agreement with Josh's suggestion to?
If we wanted to go back to 1.5, it would be a rollback, a Headley, like it'd be considered oh my gosh, I literally just had it in front of me. We can, if we took it back, it would be a new millage. We'd have to remove the renewal from it. And we're essentially asking the voters for 1.5 again, which is what we're not doing. We're just gonna continue rolling it back based on property values.
Oh, okay, so you're gonna roll it back again. Okay,
Yes.
you're not gonna reset. A lot of them reset because.
Yeah, my intent was not to reset. My intent was just to keep it going because we've seen with the ambulance fund, the money generated.
Too much money in there.
So once we get to 2029, I think that's where the comment came from last time. Once we get to 2029, we'll reevaluate because we're gonna be reevaluating contracts and costs.
So you're considered
That
rolling,
answers your question.
the millage right now is early? Is
Is
that what it's saying in this document?
Hang on, one meeting at a time, guys. Go ahead and ask.
So it's the millage is renewed early. It's considered early right now in any year prior to the year that which it expires.
Yes.
It's subject to the Headley rollback.
Yep.
So if we waited,
If we waited, then it would be a new renewal. So if we miss the next meeting deadline, it's gonna go up for vote and it's gonna be at 1.5. Or whatever we set it at. It would have to be a new millage and not a renewal.
But at that point, are you allowed to call it a renewal or
We're
not?
not. You would have to call it.
Well, and you're not gonna make the November ballot either.
If we wait till after, we have the next meeting. We have one more meeting this month. We have the July 23rd
right.
meeting. So
Yeah.
we're still well within our timeframe. So.
Right, but your point is if we don't put it in like he's suggesting it, the whatever, 1.378.
Yep.
Then, if we don't get that onto the November ballot, then you would miss an ambulance
For an entire
collection
year.
for this winter tax.
Yes. Yep. So.
That's probably not the right thing to do.
That's not the right thing to do.
Is this worded as a continuation millage? Or is this, it's a renewal?
It's a renewal.
So I'll just read what Dawn said because this is a little confusing too. I don't know if you may know more about this, Linda, but she says the way that I'm reading this, meaning the document, is that there would not be a rollback for the 2026 tax year since it was approved after April 30th, 2026. So was there a deadline that we needed to have in April? She does go on to say, however, since it is a continuation millage, then that may be affected, or that may, I don't know, that's worded a little weird, then may be affected by the rollback. If that is the case, then the 2025 millage rate 1.3942 would be multiplied by 0.9889, which equals the 1.3787 is what we had on our other one.
I think we need to take this to the attorney because I have
Mhm.
Yeah, because she's,
specific knowledge of this other than the.
she doesn't either, and I don't know where she came up with this April 30th date, but somewhere she thinks that we maybe missed a date.
Yeah, if you can get me that email, because I don't have what our assessed value is, and she has that in there of what it would generate. I can build the document. I've just got to fill in the spaces. I'll send it off to Peter Wendling, have him review it and give him like, hey, I need this in the next, 7 days.
He has a new email that I need to make sure you have the
Okay.
correct email, and you'll need to delete his
Yeah,
old.
and then I'll send him that as well from the assessor and just say, can you please? Because I really don't want to miss the deadline.
No, no, no.
Do you have the original document that had the numbers filled in? Because sometimes looking at the numbers that they filled in last time would help.
From
you know.
2020,
Yeah.
Two?
This one.
I don't,
This one has all the blanks, but do you have a copy of the one that actually has it filled in?
I don't, no.
Okay,
I didn't have any information, so I just made them blanks. But I'll get with Wendy tomorrow to get the last millage.
okay. Oh, wait a minute, I'm sorry, what did?
The
you
last
said-
word, the wording from the
Wording
last,
from that.
the wording from the last one, so that way my intent is to have the wording exactly the same, because
It'd be nice to just, if we can pull the history, is this on a 4-year rotation? Is that what this is?
So that's in your MTA booklet that you sent us. So I should probably forward that, or you should forward that to the rest of the board. That's what it's saying in there. It's like, when does a township put it on a millage? And it says there's several factors, and then it starts going through like each one. So that's very important for all of us to understand.
yeah, because this,
Well, it's also good that the new attorney is the same. He works for the same firm that is the legal counsel to the Michigan Township Association.
Okay.
I would think they get their hands firmly around
yeah,
this.
perfect.
And it also, if it's been levied or not, that's an issue on here. So.
Okay,
Sounds good.
Alrighty.
Awesome.
thank you, Josh.
Thank you.
All right, so the last thing on our new business agenda is to circle back to the information that we reviewed at the start of the meeting. I think it is on page 7. That is a very lengthy motion. Which is, I think, probably best I could tell, similar or identical to the motion that the Planning Commission asked to recommend this group of zoning ordinance amendments.
Right.
So you want to make, I don't know how feel about this. Usually we make a motion in order to discuss further.
Right, so
Not to read, but it's all written out.
I think it's 65.
65.
Yeah, and I can always change it later if it's not right.
Okay, there was a question
It's
about.
resolution
ordinance
7.
notices.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'll make the motion to move this to discussion purposes. To approve, I make a motion to approve ordinance 2026-65. Which represents a repeal and replacement of Article 7, planned unit development for the purpose of master plan alignment, procedural updates, density allowances, and other minor changes pertaining to clarity and readability. Amendments to Article 8, condominium development regulations to provide for a residential cluster option to encourage open space preservation. Update requirements, including those for landscaping and for other minor changes pertaining to clarity and readability. Amendments to Article 12, site plan review to improve process, clarify approval, validity, details, and for other minor changes pertaining to clarity and readability. Amendments to Article 13, special land uses to delete redundant language, clarify approval, validity, details, and for other minor changes pertaining to formatting, clarity, and readability. And amendments to Article 19, administration to provide clarification on the land use permit process and for other minor changes pertaining to clarity, readability, and amendments to Article 2, definitions to accompany the preceding amendments above.
Do you need to read that last thing that says these amendments are found to be consistent with the township boards?
Oh, I'm sorry. Looking at the wrong one.
It was just the last.
Yes, these amendments are found to be consistent with the township board's own findings of compliance with section 2105 of the Whitewater Township zoning ordinance. I want to mention also that this was prepared again at the direction of the township's attorney, who is suggesting a specific format with these exhibits that specifically relate to the findings of fact that both the planning commission determined as well as findings that are proposed for the township board. There's also, it's a little bit lengthier than we've had in the past because of that, but it does kind of tidy things up and make the findings and conclusions much more clear, I think. I also want to mention that, and I've mentioned this, I think, before to planning commission members and to, I think, Linda, that the way our current ordinance is written now, it says
You
that,
want a second before we go further?
oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah,
She need a second,
I'll
sorry.
second that, and then you can continue your comments.
The current Article 21 says that essentially the town board can either approve or reject the proposed amendments from the planning commission. It doesn't say anything about modifying it. And that's probably, I think that's an oversight compared to what the zoning enabling act says. So I would suggest that we ask for some legal clarification on that, whether the zoning enabling act supersedes our zoning. If there's any changes that you would like to make to this. We had discussion before about 2 possible clarifications. If those were to be done, I would suggest that we actually have specific language for that, not just an idea to clean it up, to actually have language in front of you to do that.
I think both of the things that I brought up are relatively minor. I would call them nice to have, not have to have. They're they're minor.
We could always circle back to those 2 at a later time with other amendments and add that to other bundles.
This was more than a bubble.
Well, as I said at the beginning,
Yeah.
this is probably the toughest one that we have to deal with, because even though people with my background have been talking about PUDs for a long time and special use permits and site plans, and the planning commission has been knee deep in this for 7 months.
Well, and to that point, I would like to make my comment on it.
Go ahead.
I talked to Reen about it yesterday as well. You have been working on this for 7 months, and you've been dealing with this with your contractor, going through all of these things in detail more than once, probably, I'm sure. Revisiting, changing this, changing that. We got 81 pages in our packet. And for us as board members, I'll speak for myself, it's a lot. And this is all new stuff, and I get that you're trying to, efficiently move through the process and make the best use of the contractor, which is good for us because it reduces the cost of that, right? But it's just an awful lot to ask us to approve all of these amendments to all these articles, when some of these things, you start reading 81 pages of this and you start getting brain fog. You forget what you read, what am I reading or whatever. And I would like to see it at the board level come to us one at a time, where there's better explanation about planned unit development. And this is what it was, this is what we changed. And then we were able to spend more time on each one, explaining these to us. And maybe for the public's benefit as well, and it's kind of a refresh, and, this is what this is all about, and we found this error and this error, but to come into our packet with this much, for me, is just a lot. And I'm not opposed to approving this stuff because I trust the planning commission. I think they're doing a really good job, and have no reason not to trust what they're doing. And that's what I have to do, is put my faith in that body, because for me to decipher, I like this and I don't like that, I can't do it this way. And we couldn't hear the presenter today, and that didn't help, but
So let me explain the reason for putting it all together as one bundle here, that there were all related material. And maybe Andy, I don't know if he's still with us, but he could maybe add to that. He's not. Okay. The reason to put it to all to one bundle is that these sections are interrelated. They're not always standalone sections. We're talking about cross references between material. And so that's why they were kind of grouped together. So it's kind of a similar conversation about, what is the process for site plan approval? What's the process for zoning administration? What's the process for condominium developments? All that kind of thing is they're all related. There's other bundles that are going to have similar material that is going to be related to. So the concern is that if you take it one by one and just approve, say, amendments to article, whatever, that you can make those changes, but then impact other sections of the ordinance and not realize it. So I've kind of made
You
the
just
analogy
standardize
before.
it.
It's like, the zoning ordinance is one ordinance. It's not 23 separate ordinances that stand alone. It's one ordinance that's interrelated. So it'd be like not approving the definitions that support one section, that we just added definitions specifically to support that section. If we don't do that, then, we diminish the strength of what we just did. So,
Right.
so it's, and I guess I sympathize with a lot of stuff, and I've said it a couple times that, going through discussion of planned unit developments is tough. And the planning commission was having, a lot of conversation about that to understand it as well. So, I know that in other places, communities have done the whole ordinance rewrite cover to cover, and then presented it for approval. I think East Bay did that, which would be pretty daunting here if we tried to do that, because it's a ton of work and a ton of changes. And so that was the reason for the bundles. I think there's 3 or 4 more coming, but they'll be smaller and probably a little bit more easily understood about permitted uses in districts, about setbacks, about development standards. It'll be a little bit more relatable, I think. So this happened to be probably the more important bundle to get through. The planning commission looked at the whole range of issues that we needed to deal with and prioritized them. So there was a sense of looking at the wide range of things we had to deal with as a planning commission. These kind of rose to the top of the priorities, and other ones are important too, but less so. I think there's concern about how the township's requirements now leave us somewhat vulnerable to problems with development pressure being where it is.
Yeah, and just my last thing, I was listening to your meeting and I know that this is not part of what I was hearing, but there was a lot of public comment about certain issues that people were making that really were interesting to me. I was interested in what they had to say and their concerns, but those aren't part of what we're talking about here. Those are for a future discussion, but
So I'd like to see, a continual effort to keep the ordinance updated and improving, so that once we get through these bundles, that we continue to work on it. The ordinance is never perfect. They're never perfect in the most sophisticated, well-funded communities in the country. It's constant effort to make up ground. But the one thing about zoning is that it can't be retroactive. So you've got to anticipate the problems you're going to have, and you've got to have your ordinance prepared for dealing what might come in the door tomorrow.
So kind of related that when you said keeping your ordinance updated. I think last year we approved the new zoning ordinance early in the calendar year of 2025. And then I think the current one on the website is dated like something like October 25. When I just go to the website, that's what pops up. So all these changes, which is a lot, is the plan to issue a new dated
Yes.
document? Okay. So
After the effective date.
and who handles all that? Cause that's some pretty detailed work.
It's the clerk.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So the clerk is responsible for maintaining the ordinance, and so
Oh.
I have offered to help.
Yeah. Well,
That.
definitely probably needs to be checked and double checked, cause that's a lot to cut and paste in and not make a mistake. I mean, that's fussy work.
It is.
well, did they do it in a red line format off a Word document that you?
I've been in contact with Andy too and have the word, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
So we started with that, but the problem with that is that it's gone through several iterations with the planning
Oh.
commission. So the red line becomes red lines, and then it's pretty unwieldy to try to identify, get your,
Mm.
probably the easiest way to check is just compare the chapters, the existing and the proposed, to try to.
All right, so I think we have a motion made. I lost track of if somebody seconded
You
it.
did.
Okay, so are there further discussion or are you guys ready to vote on this?
I think that we maybe had a little bit of advantage across the board because of being, zoning board of appeals and citizen planner class and then former chairperson of the, planning commission. I think we had a better grasp on the information. So I don't have any questions about that. I appreciate the planning commission's work.
I would also add that just, for after reading this all today, and it's fresh in my mind, I came in and checked and, the last time this PUD stuff was updated was like in the earlier nineties. I mean, it started out in 92 and had a couple amendments in 1994, I think. I checked my book and it was just like, that's a long time to go with no change. And, then I looked at my zoning map on where we had implemented those PUDs and I had forgotten that Palastrom is a PUD. And just, I found his comments very interesting, just talking about under what criteria should you do a PUD, that it should be a very unusual set of circumstances. Interesting input.
If I could circle back to the issue about the 87 pages or something, a lot of that's because of the need for the exhibits as expressed by our attorney. So there's a fair amount of stuff from the master plan and the zoning ordinance and stuff. So it all kind of lays out so that you don't have to go searching for relevant sections of the ordinance. It's there. And so that makes it a little bit more cumbersome, but hopefully save some time in the long run for any documentation needs to be provided with regard to the conclusions and findings that both the planning commission and the town board reached.
Okay, anything further? Jill, anything?
No, Tim said a lot of what I was gonna say too. It was just a lot to absorb. We all know that. You gave a good explanation as to why. And I guess in summary, it looks like a lot of this is it's minor changes, it's procedural things, it's just clarification. So I feel, I don't feel like I totally understand everything that's in this 81 pages, but I know you guys have been working super hard and with professionals and, I would be comfortable moving forward with.
Well, I will say the planning commission has done a ton of work, and under Reen's leadership here, we've really made some major strides, and there's a lot more in the works to come, but it'll be a little bit easier, I think. It would be terms that are maybe a bit more understandable. Like some people, understand special use permits and site plans and the difference in PUDs and condo developments. And there's that vernacular that gets out there that is sometimes misunderstood too. I mean, some people think they know what they mean, but they don't. So anyway, I have confidence in Andy too. I think Giffords Webster has done a good job for us in being patient and walking through things and explaining it, and also the chronology that you have with each of the memos where they listed off. And this meetings, we discussed this, at this meeting, we discussed that. And so
He put that together, like all that. Yeah, it was a lot of work and it was very thorough. It was very thorough.
just there is the volume is a lot. So
Yeah. All right, so motion made and seconded. Ready to vote? All right, roll call vote when ready.
Milnick,
yes.
Kester,
Yes.
Aaron's,
Yes.
Hoaxma, yes, Slopesma.
Yes. Okay, moving on, tabled items. We don't have any of those. Announcements, next township board meeting, Thursday, July 23, 9 a.m. Any other board member announcements?
I have one.
Yep.
And I think pass it around. After much thought and consideration and months of kind of struggling over this decision, I have decided to submit a letter for my resignation. I had a lot unfold in my life over this last year, and my demands on my own business and family members who are not doing well has increased exponentially since I've taken this position, and I'm just finding it really difficult to juggle all the balls that I have in the air right now. I will do whatever needs to happen to just move forward with a smooth transition until somebody else can be found. I would like, I would like it to be 2 weeks, but if it needs to be longer than that, I'm open to that. I just want to say that serving the residents of Whitewater Township has been a privilege, and I've had the opportunity to work alongside dedicated board members, employees, volunteers, and residents who genuinely care about the future of this township, whether we agree on how that looks or not. It's, everybody I think has great intentions, and I'm grateful for these experiences and the opportunities to serve the community. I remain committed to fulfilling my responsibilities through my final days in office and to ensuring a smooth and orderly transition. I will fully cooperate in transferring records, responsibilities, and any information necessary to assist the board in appointing my successor and maintaining continuity in township operations. My sincere hope is that Whitewater Township continues to move forward with respect, cooperation, and a shared commitment to serving the best interests of our community. I wish the township board, staff, and all residents peace and unity in the years ahead. Life is short. I just think you need to be happy and passionate about what you do, and I just wish everybody success here. I do also want to mention that I did just tell Andy about this afternoon. And he is interested in being considered for the position. He's been trying to sell his house for 9 months. And he does have an opportunity to move into Whitewater fairly soon. He has to be a resident for 30 days before you guys could appoint him, which means I would have to probably stay in this position for 30 days. I'm willing to do that if you guys consider Andy for that position. I would stay and help him, help make that happen. It's totally up to you guys, but just putting it out on the table that he's willing to do that. He's had this is a long-term goal of his and an interest that he has in being in local government for a long time. So I don't know if you knew that he ran for supervisor up in,
I did know that.
yeah, so, I mean, he's
Up in Milton Township.
yeah, he's a very, very smart man, and I don't know anybody that does not love him, so I think he'd be a great fit.
Okay. So I think I'm going to have to look up the law on this.
It's not official, it's official because you put it in writing, but it's not official until we accept it. And then we have a certain amount of days to appoint someone, so this might wait until the next meeting.
Yeah, I think it's best that I'll look for some information to
Mhm.
provide to people some guidance, and
Then I'm not sure if that person has to run on the next ballot.
I think we can check on this. So, okay. So I will send information out to everybody, including you, Jill, about that. I think your comment about the 30 days residency is definitely correct.
Mhm.
And so it'd probably be great if Andy could come in and maybe talk to us at our next meeting. I think kind of
All right. And that would technically
make a
be
official statement to
yeah,
us.
That's 2 weeks from today, so that would technically be my last day if we could make that happen. But if you guys are seriously considering Andy, I kind of need to know as soon as possible to be able to accommodate staying a little bit longer.
Okay,
So
I think it would
just-
be best if you send us individual emails and we can provide you some feedback
Okay.
individually. That makes sense.
Mhm.
That way you'd have a feel, and so would Andy, and
Yeah.
Andy can also speak to us individually.
Yeah. And he might change his mind by tomorrow. I kind of dropped a bomb on him today, but
Yeah, that's
I know he
kind
has
of-
long-term goals and ambitions, and I think he'd do well.
Okay.
I think it's 30 days. You have to fill it, you have to fill the vacancy within 30 days. So you have some time. A little bit.
But can we fill it? with
After
somebody
you
that's not
accept,
qualified? Oh, after we accept her resignation.
yes, you have 30 days.
Okay, I think I read something about this too, as you continue getting paid, and I know that's not your concern, but you continue getting paid until we accept the resignation. So I just know there's lots of,
Details.
rules and details and dates, and so,
And I'm flexible, so just
okay.
keep me posted
But-
if that needs to change or if
Yeah.
I need to change my letter or whatever.
Okay, and I'd like to talk to you separately about it. All right, public comment.
Wait, I had something
Sorry.
else to say. I had people complaining to me about drones. And they thought our zoning administrator was using drones on their property. And I wanted to clarify, yeah, to everyone that we don't have a drone. And I think that that might be the Eagle View GIS people doing 3D mapping of people's property and houses. So
I can
that's the county. Yeah.
respond to that a little
Yeah.
bit. Typically, the Eagle View, the standard contract was on like a 3-year rotation.
Yeah.
However, if you look on the county GIS site, I know, I talk to Jim Baker pretty regularly, and he's the one that contracts that through the county. And there was a flyover late spring this year. You see the snow in some of the pictures, the little pile here and there in people's
Right.
yards. So there was one late spring this year, probably April-ish is what the current latest layer of data is. But there was also, I think it was the feds did drone footage of the properties last summer, which was unexpected. And so there's like 7 or 8 layers
Right.
of
There could be
data
people
in
out
that
there.
system
Yeah.
now. And so, but it's not going on continuously. My understanding is they did their 2026 data.
But if you do feel violated by a drone, you should call the police, not, yeah.
Right, and so, but they do need to know that we don't own a drone,
No.
and Deb Graber certainly doesn't have a license to operate one. That I know of, not for the, not on behalf of the township at all.
No.
And so, but I do know that people may not realize that there's that much footage. And I've looked at my house, and it's a great chronological view of
Yes.
a recent addition to my house, and you can see it, the dirt pile, and then you can
Mhm.
see building finished. And so, yeah, so there has been more data than in the past. In the past, it was literally every 3 years.
If I'm not mistaken, though, the Eagle View and the other aerial photography is flown by airplanes that are airplanes, not drones. So there.
That I don't know for sure how big,
I'm
how big the
pretty
stuff
sure
is
it's
and
not-
how high.
It's not drones they're taking the Eagle
Satellite
View.
images.
Well, it's the airplanes, because I know up until recently that it's airplanes that are flying the aerial photography. I mean, the county has had air photos back for years
Right.
and stuff. The Eagle View is new because the plane has different cameras that allow you to do the oblique views of the landscape rather than just the flat views, which is what gives you the building depths and heights and stuff. So, but I would bet money it's not drone footage. So if there's truly drones.
Anyway, it's not us.
Anyway, it's not.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, public comment. Anybody like to make a public comment? Like, Reen, you need your beaver. Stiff from sitting.
Yes. Sorry. Thank you for your consideration of the recommendation from the Planning Commission. We are all very happy to have that off of our plate. I did have one question when you were talking about the rules for for public comment. Does that mean we won't be using the forms anymore then, if it's all?
You mean those papers? Are there some of those papers there?
Yeah,
Like our procedures don't govern that.
No, I know that. I'm asking for the board, like when you have public comments, if giving your name and address is optional, then filling out the form would be optional too, right?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, okay. And then also those rules only apply to public comment, not to public hearing, is that right?
Public hearings get
different.
to do more detailed, right?
You cannot limit public hearing.
Right, to preserve their right to appeal, they're to give their name and whether they support or don't support whatever's being considered at the public hearing. So that's when.
Totally different.
It's, yeah, it's totally different. And
Right. And I knew we
be
couldn't,
careful in limiting public comment during
Right.
public hearings as well.
but you still can't require a name and address for public hearing.
Public, you would have to check, but I think public hearings are different than what we're talking about.
Yeah, I'm just curious because we've got one
Discuss
coming
that
up.
later.
Okay,
Yeah, I think you should follow up separately and if we need to get a hold of the attorney.
okay, thanks.
All right,
Randy Steelman, Chris Road. I just was watching the last little bit of this. I've been at the Cherry Festival all day, but I kind of come as a shock that you're leaving. And I just wanted to come say thank you so much for what you've done. And I'm sorry that it's so hard and that you've had such a rough go of it. Wanted to thank you for the people. I think the average people thought that you were the one that was the most on our team and fighting for us regular folks the most. So I just want to thank you so much. And I know you've been trying to do right by everybody and get everything, just up to snuff and whatnot, and you've been beat down. And I feel really bad that you're having to leave. I know that you love this community and that you really wanted to help us. And I think that, even if you don't feel like it, you were making a difference, and your legacy is good. People know that you have a great character and you're a good person, and nobody's going to look down on you for this or anything, but we're all going to be really sad that you're not here with us anymore. We hope to see you around town and at things, and wish you the best. Okay. Thank you so much for working so hard for us. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
I'd like to second what Randy said. I couldn't say any better, so all I can say is I agree completely with him. About this issue we talked so much about with Wendy and this whole extra pay thing. All kinds of people around the community ask me about this issue frequently, all the time. Unsolicited, I don't solicit their opinion, but they give me their opinion about it. And I'm just going to read this. The public thinks that there was an attempt of the board to hide this issue. The public's main concern on how this was handled is that what they heard in a meeting from other board members is that, I'm going to paraphrase this. Wendy was told privately that if she would pay the money back, this would just go away. They also make comments indicating that they perceive that there is some kind of personal bickering among the board members, which reminds them of our last board. To the public that repeatedly asked for transparency, this sounds like a cover-up. So that's where a lot of that comes from. Tim, you were right. People do perceive this as a cover-up. Secondly, you had a great comment. I think this was a great meeting tonight, except for Joe leaving. But the great comment or conversation you had about the time period for the public speaking. There's a lot of great comments and a lot of good input. I hope that it can be something consistent. Myself, if it's going to be a limit, between this minute and that minute, I would say 3 to 5 minutes. I was, as you all know, I was very upset the other night when it was 2 minutes. It's never been 2 minutes before. I worked for a week to get my speech down to 5.5 minutes, and I had my daughter come read part of it because she has interest in my property and other property in this township. So she has every right to speak. And then I get there and I only get 2 minutes. So there was no way. I had to scrap half of what I had to say and wing it, and I'm not very effective that way. I was cheated in my puny little brain. So please find something consistent and especially on these bigger meetings, please try to let people know ahead of time if our time period is going to be cut down. I mean, you hit the nail right on the head. People think that they're going to get this amount of time, so they work real hard to get their speech down to that amount of time, and then they get there and it's all different. And to speak to that again, after sitting through a good meeting, a good long meeting, somebody like myself, a lot of times I'm taking notes during the meeting, and now I got something to say about it. Well, if I only get 2 minutes at the end, how can I touch on every topic that you guys all touch? 3 hours. You guys got 3 hours to talk about it. I get 2 minutes or 3 minutes to be able to touch on all these little topics. The public's opinion is very important. Government is supposed to be directed and guided by what the public wants. Without our input, you're not doing what the public wants, you're doing what you want or your individual group of people that you're representing wants. The whole public is supposed to be represented and listened to. I thank you for the good meeting. I think it was a real good one. Appreciate all your time. I don't mean to be a thorn in your side, but I have my opinion too, and I'm entitled to it. Thank you.
All right, thanks, Mike. Anybody else want to make a public comment? All right, board comments, discussion.
I have one since Reen's here too, but there's a lot of buzz around about data centers and moratoriums, and I don't know if that's on the radar of the planning commission to even have a discussion about that, or
Think if it's okay, I think Reen could speak to that very directly. She went to a conference.
Yeah, please.
I attended, Linda, you sent me the invitation to the data center symposium that was at the beginning of June, which was super helpful. And it is on our radar. It's sort of up for debate whether the area is actually a good fit because our power grid is not up to par. So it doesn't feel like it's, like there's a lot of pressure right now, but it is something that we need to look at, and it is on my list of things as soon as we get through, I think, the short-term rental issue. And
I'd like to address that. I think that's a lot more than, I think it needs to be pressure on the planning commission. I did say this in citizen planner class. I think that data centers have no business being here, and I do not want to have to vote on it. I want the planning commission to make sure of that. And I have a clerk friend who actually was recalled because she didn't have a choice, because if it's allowed right now, if they came here, we would have to say yes to it. And I do not think that is the right thing to do.
so right now it's not it's not in the zoning ordinance, so it wouldn't be an allowed use.
Good.
Yeah.
Thank you for clarifying.
Yeah. So they're not currently allowed, but,
Okay.
but we probably want to create something.
Make sure it's.
Yeah.
Do we need to have our attorney double check that? Just, I think we.
I would feel
probably
very
need
comfortable
to-
with that. Yes.
Sure,
Thank you.
Him and his resources with his big firm. Yeah.
well, my concern is we have in this county the most open spaces,
Yes.
and I know that these data centers, these companies are so wealthy as far as not having the utility infrastructure. They buy it, they pay for it. I don't know, I don't think we have the water resources they would need, however, but but.
Well,
Yeah.
actually, so in the conference, they talked about that, and they're required by the state to use public utility for water,
Right.
and we don't have.
And we don't have that. That's what I meant. Yeah,
have a
so.
Section of that.
Well, I just think it's something that we definitely need to, before we're blindsided, I think we need to get in front
Square
of
that
that.
up.
And you are.
Yes.
So I appreciate
Yeah,
it.
we are on it. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'd like to just make a comment about the information that Pat Pierce came in and, shared on Battle Creek Nature Area. I do think it's critical that we follow up on that. I mean, that's in my backyard and I was not aware of what he was saying as far as that extra parcel that was cut away and how exactly that happened. And, you know, there's a good chance that Glenn Chown from the Conservancy might know some of that, and some of the other people that worked on that are still alive.
Clarify.
And so there were a lot of people on Skikemog Point that were involved in that.
RAC members know a lot about it. They talked about, they have the history on that, so they might be a good, Melissa would be probably a good person for you to talk to if you want to find out more.
Okay. I've got her phone number. So I had no idea about that property exclusion, and I had understood that I know that bridge. I really know that bridge is still there because you can't get to it. But my understanding is that, you know, as soon as you touch the other side of that bridge, that was PCNA. So I really want to look at the information on Eagle View. So anyway,
Enough to do.
the last thing, I hate to throw this in there, but I think we should talk about, just with Jill's announcement, it occurs to me, I'm wondering, you know, when the last board had a vacancy, when they had a trustee resign, I believe they placed an ad in the newspaper and on the website. And I would hate to lose 2 weeks of time making sure people are aware and if anybody wanted to step forward. Because as you said, Andy was interested, but he might change his mind by tomorrow morning. And then there's 2 weeks before we have another meeting. So I'm just throwing it out there for discussion, whether or not we should proceed to put a notification on our website, saying that people can submit a letter of interest and maybe a summary of qualifications.
I also want to remind you too, it'd be a good time, that whatever my day of resignation is, whatever that date is, my final date, all his authority to sign checks and everything goes away. So
I'm
he's
aware of that.
yeah,
So that can cripple us. So, and we can talk about that maybe.
I think it should be open to the public.
So I'm just wondering if we need to put a very simple, but bold announcement in the paper and something on the front page of our website. What do the rest of you guys think?
Yes.
That we welcome people to apply?
Yeah, I guess it don't hurt.
I mean, I think it would be the smart way to cover our tail feathers.
And we can appoint, or we can do what the last board did and say, we have to have a special election. And
But that would really protract things.
it
you know,
would.
because
other
there's-
option is this man right here. And he could keep Andy as the deputy.
Oh, no. Oh, thank you.
Well, that's something he can consider overnight. Now he'll be up all night, having some kind of dreams. So, all right, so are we in agreement that it's okay to have Wendy put
Yes.
together a simple announcement slash invitation for people to step forward if they so wish? And could it possibly include the residency requirement, just to make sure people know?
Oh, yeah.
So that would be good to include that so that, you know, especially when we publish it in the paper, so we don't get people from all over the place. Okay, anybody else have anything else to say?
We didn't go over our 3-hour limit. We didn't vote.
Okay, well, it's too late.
I know.
I guess we have to stop the meeting.
I think we're just,
Is it valid?
It's kind of a weird thing anyway.
okay, so I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Motion made and second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.